The Devil's Advocates radio show is broadcast under a time brokerage agreement between Devil Radio and Civic Media, Inc. Some portions of this program may be pre-recorded. Warning, you're about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the Civic Media Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
And now, here's your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates radio show, a Thursday edition. Friday Eve up in here, Dom. Get a little closer.
Happy Friday Eve. Crute, Rich working hard on the board. Thank you, Rich. Of course, our fair audience. Welcome to the political party. Happy solstice. Happy first night of Summerfest here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's going to be a fun weekend.
Did they plan it purposefully that way? Longest day of the year, first night of Summerfest?
They used to do it 10 days in a row. And then over the years, they've changed it, and COVID kind of wrecked it. And then now it's like 3 weekends in a row, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's still entertaining, but you can't quite go 6 days in a row when they don't offer it 6 days in a row. But it's the largest music festival in the world, Crute. I can't wait to get down and have some fun tonight.
It's your unofficial 4th of July, isn't it, Dom?
And people say I went to Summerfest and I never came back. That's been known to happen. So hopefully I'll see y'all back on the radio Monday, but I got too nice to tear it up at Summerfest. We'll see what happens.
Did you or did you not meet the lovely Mrs. Selfie at Summerfest?
I did. We met on a picnic table at Summerfest at the Miller Oasis stage, if you can believe it, so many years ago. We're on our 20th wedding anniversary, dude, if you can believe that this year.
I can. You got a daughter who is about the same age.
Yeah, we were a few months pregnant with Izzy when we decided to get married because, well, what's the last name going to be? And, Dominic needs insurance. So, the very important things as to why you get married.
You made Steffi an honest woman so you could join her health insurance?
At the time, yep. That's how it was.
That seems quite practical of you.
Hey, love works in mysterious ways.
There's one guy who left the entire state of Wisconsin hanging in regards to health insurance. Scott Walker, the wanker, former gubernator, the indefensible choice not to expand Medicaid, Dom. And, it cost the state of Wisconsin billions with a B. Never a fiscally prudent guy, not if there's some conservatism to be had. Well, anyways, the wanker. And I'm not a big fan.
No, not really, huh?
Not a big fan. But the wanker went on CNN recently. I think it was last night, Dom. And, I found it an odd couple pairing. Scotty Wanker. And did you see him the other day at the Trump rally? Did you see what he was wearing? I know we played some of his brief.
Yeah, he had. I only saw the view from the back. He had that gaudy American flag shirt on. And the very robust bald spot.
The American flag shirt. This is not a sign of classiness in anywhere except maybe a Walmart parking lot, Dom. This is not the coolest look for any politician, wannabe. Really, don't wear a flag shirt. I have a nice suit at home. And, I told the tailor, I do politics. And the tailor said, well, you could get a custom liner on this suit.
Yeah.
And then pulled out the magazine just to show me. Didn't have one in stock, apparently. But boom, American flag lining.
Yeah.
And I laughed and I laughed. And I thought about it. But I said, no. That's not a good look for any man, woman, or child. The wanker. Looks good on you, though. But last night, back to a more traditional look, blue suit, red tie, as Trump does it. And the wanker went on CNN, Abby Phillips' show last night. And the odd coupling was the Democratic Party of Wisconsin chairman, Ben Wickler.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw it as a better appearance for Ben than the glowering wanker.
Glowering?
Because Walker got his ass handed to him. It's crazy. It's been so long since he went on like a news source and got challenged. Because now he just cashes checks mostly, right? And even when he was a politician, he used just to go right-wing talk radio, Fox News occasionally if they'd have him, friendly sources. Never came on this show. But anyways, went on CNN last night with Abby Phillips because he's trying desperately to be relevant, Dom. And Ben handed him his ass. Little of the setup here. I've got a press release from the Democratic Party of Wisconsin. Last night, Democratic Party of Wisconsin chair Ben Wickler joined CNN's Newsnight with Abby Phillips alongside failed Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker. Yeah, give it to the wanker.
Stick it to him.
While Chair Wickler highlighted how President Biden has delivered time and again for Wisconsin where Donald Trump and Walker failed, Scott Walker desperately attempted to spend Donald Trump's unfulfilled promises and disdain for Wisconsinites. Yes, disdain. And from bringing new investments to southeastern Wisconsin to investing in our infrastructure, Chair Wickler reminded viewers that President Biden is fighting for Wisconsinites and going toe-to-toe with the wealthy special interest Donald Trump and Scott Walker are beholden to. So let's not forget the topic here, Foxconn. I mean, Scott Walker sitting there, and the contrast is what? Well, I don't think we have the very beginning of this soundbite, so I'm just going to read a little bit more from this press release from the Democratic Party. Then we'll have Rich drop it. Here's what Ben Wickler said in part. Although President Trump and you, Governor, broke ground with golden shovels on a factory that went up in smoke, we actually are right now constructing this AI data center in Racine County that will bring thousands of family-supporting jobs. We didn't have that part, do we? So I just want to add the context.
Yes, thank you for that.
I didn't want to take Ben out of context. You know what I'm saying? And then the rest of the shellacking for the wanker commences from here forward. Play for the people, Rich.
Trump is running on a plan to jack up prices. You can read Project 2025. He wants to give away the store to special interests. He met with oil company executives and told them that if they gave him $1 billion for his campaign, he'd give them whatever they wanted. And the opposite is true with President Biden. I mean, President Biden, unlike President Trump, apparently loves Wisconsin, loves our cities and small towns and rural areas, and he's actually working to deliver stuff for people here. And if he has another term, he's going to go toe-to-toe with special interests across the board to keep bringing costs down. And we can see that in his record in bipartisan legislation that he has passed through Congress and signed into law. Trump's big bill was a tax cut for the ultra-wealthy, and putting Supreme Court justices in who terminated Roe versus Wade and side against unions and workers at every step. For President Biden, he walked on a picket line. He signed the infrastructure bill. He signed the law to negotiate for lower prices for prescription drugs in Medicare. Over and over, he's done what he said he was going to do. And what he is saying right now is that he's going to stop at nothing to bring costs down for working families and keep bringing those job numbers and those manufacturing jobs up.
And the whole time, Walker has to sit there with resting bitch face.
Just take it. Just take it.
So I commend you, Chairman Wickler. You did a fine job. Scott Walker never really got a debate. No one ever really got to hold him accountable for his lies, not when he was serving as the governor. Now, he did have a few failed debates as a presidential candidate. As you've pointed out, Dom, Trump did put a cigarette out on his ass.
That he did.
We don't need another apprentice, sir.
You wouldn't hire me to run condo. You wouldn't hire me to run HP. Yeah, you wouldn't. No, we wouldn't hire you. You're right.
The list of jobs you are unqualified for is extensive.
But apparently not the executive director of the Young
Adolph's Foundation?
No, Young America's Foundation, I believe. Taking care of the Reagan Ranch, clearing about $800,000 a year. I mean, not a bad gig if you can get. I mean, what What did Scott Walker do to earn up to that job? I'm just wondering. Was it some of the backdoor money from some of his donors? What are we gonna do about these unions? Well, what we're gonna do is divide and conquer, right? That's what it did with the widow Hendricks. So now after he's done with his service, he's a man of service, right? He was wasn't he a county guy? Then he was a legislator, and then he rose up to be
legislator,
like,
then county executive.
Yeah, all right.
Which was in a spring special election, I might add. And then
Meaning low turnout.
Oh,
nobody cares, and he squeaked in.
You know how he squeaked in? He came in after the pension scandal. Like, I'll clean house. I'm the good government guy.
Yeah.
And then he was running a presidential didn't turn to a presidential campaign until he was governor, but he was running a gubernatorial campaign while county executive, of course, through his staff on the people's dime, and many of them, Dom, were convicted. But I've continuously heard they came after these poor conservatives with pre-dawn paramilitary raids.
Yeah.
Wouldn't even let that one woman smoke a cigarette.
I think the cop got her a cup of coffee. It wasn't clear exactly what happened. They seemed very nice when they went in and did their quote-unquote pre-dawn paramilitary raid.
Nicer than they've ever been to me, at least during my arrest incidents. Folks, we have devil's
incidents,
advocates.
Plural.
I said incidents. I didn't say incident. I've had more than one. Have you?
I've had the cuffs on a couple of times, but usually they let me go or say the safe word.
Summerfest.
Watermelon.
844-967-2789. Dom, the entirety of Foxy News is moving their operations to Milwaukee.
Oh,
I can't wait. Do you think they'll have me back on? It's been a while.
I don't know, man. I don't think you were very gracious the last time you were on. I think you called them out a little bit, Mike, and I'm not sure they're happy about that.
They're like Trump. They seek utter loyalty. They're not going to get it here, Dom.
No.
That's not how we do it. Come back. We'll talk about the Fox News. You can't quite trust them, can you? Or Devil's Advocates. You can trust us. Trust us.
You wouldn't hire me to be a neurosurgeon. You wouldn't hire me to run condos. You wouldn't hire me to run HP. You probably wouldn't hire me to run the United States Senate.
Join the Devil's Advocates at the Barrymore Theater, Madison, Thursday, June 27th for a pre-presidential debate panel discussion featuring attorney Maggie Dawn and the Devil's Advocates at 7 p.m. Biden versus Trump, the most important presidential debate of your lifetime, to follow at 8 p.m. Admission is free. You're welcome, but bring cash for the bar and donations will be accepted at the door. Do you like Delta 8? It'd be cooler if you did. We proudly announced the Devil's Advocates have partnered with Herbal Aspect to bring your newest Delta 8 favorites, Devil's Gummies, exclusively at herbalaspect.com. Legal for consumption by adults, they may be mailed directly to your home. Always use Devil Radio at checkout to let Herbal Aspect know where you heard them. Order today for delivery. Devil's Gummies and Devil Radio exclusive specials only from herbalaspect.com. Code Devil Radio.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
A heads up before something bad happens.
You did not send that text.
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes, you can reverse prediabetes and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. To learn your risk, take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
The Maggie Dawn Show.
Ryan, do you buy your tickets on Ticketmaster?
Whether I want to or not, I do.
Fellow Devan, we're going to talk a little bit about monopolies.
Live Nation and Ticketmaster together control 80% of the primary ticketing market. They have the market power to bully people into submission. And then you trap consumers into basically having to pay like junk fees that are basically created to create profit for the
the Devil's Advocates, tackling the issues you're not allowed to talk about at the dinner table.
And thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Happy Friday Eve to us all. Join the political party anytime. Talk or text 844-967-2789.
Dominic, I see a headline I wanted to share with you in the audience. Rolling out the red carpet for people that hate us. How some feel about the RNC. And I would say about Fox News coming to Milwaukee, making a week of it. Dom, this article from the Journal Sentinel. Amid the social media noise following former President Trump's guilty verdict in his hush money case last month, Angela Lang, and she's been a fine guest on this show, Dom, a lifelong resident of Milwaukee, couldn't help but worry that this development would mean for the upcoming Republican National Convention descending on her city. In less than a month, Trump is scheduled for sentencing in New York, like 4 days before he's supposed to come to Milwaukee, that horrible city. Oh, yeah, and they've got that here in the column. Just 4 days later, he is expected to arrive in Milwaukee, along with 50,000 other visitors, to accept the Republican Party's presidential nomination. And depending on his Senate stamp, and I am also, putting a lot of my mental worth in whether or not this guy gets sentenced properly. But depending on his sentence, Lang worries it could turn in the event into a powder keg. Lang, who serves as the executive director of Black Leaders Organizing for Communities, better known as Block, fears the sentencing could embolden a small portion of RNC attendees who are more radicalized against communities of color, especially in Milwaukee, which Trump called a horrible city at a meeting on Capitol Hill last week.
No, come on. He was talking about the crime, or he was talking about the election, crime and election. No, he never said it. Yeah, he said it. No, totally fake.
Dominic, with the RNC less than a month away, Lang's among many Milwaukee area residents who expressed a mixture of feelings.
Yeah, is that what it is? I have a mixture of feelings.
Dom, some are looking forward to an expected rush of business, especially those within the RNC footprint, but others, and particularly those who are Black, Latino, LGBTQ+, said they're apprehensive about the crowds the event might draw. This is not the RNC of the Bush era politics, Lang said. Last month, a Pew Research Center survey found that 1 in 5 Trump supporters, that's like 20%, Tom, said diversity weakens American society. And 2 in 5, that's like 40%, said the declining share of white people in the U.S. population is bad for the country. Bad. It's bad, I'd say, Tom.
Less white people, bad. More white people, good.
Gonna do some of the lifting here. I
got you, man. Meanwhile, Crute, the far right violent extremism is rising, according to research by the U.S. Department of Justice, National Institute of Justice. Lang said this: I don't think I personally, up until a year ago, used the word scared. But I had to pause recently and understand that I'm actually scared. And that's okay. That's not a sign of weakness. No, Angela, it is not. I am also concerned. A little more here. Daryl Morin is
you
the
are
national
weak
president.
in this case, though. Just
yeah. President of Forward Latino, a nonpartisan advocacy group with members and affiliates in 29 states, including Wisconsin. He said members of the community have expressed a significant amount of fear about what the next few months will bring. Once a vocal Republican, Morin left the GOP due to his defense of Trump's racist remarks and its gravitation towards white nationalism. He said Hispanic and Latino families were already worried that their appearance, their accents, or speaking Spanish in public would make them a target. That worry has only magnified them in recent anti-immigration rhetoric. Yeah, poisoning the blood of our country, that kind of stuff, Donald Trump style. The worry isn't theoretical. Morin said Forward Latino has helped with a number of hate crime cases in and around Milwaukee in the last few years. Yep, that's true. That's here. From the Journal Sentinel, more to this. But Crute, I'm with Angela, man. I want to be positive. I want to be, hopeful that things will work out nicely and people come. They'll spend their money. They'll have a few beers, have some food. enjoy our beautiful city and learn that Donald Trump was wrong. But I would like to think they would learn Donald Trump was wrong about lots of things. But I don't know that that's going to be the case. And what is the proper reaction when the Blood Tribe and their Nazi flags come walking down your street? How do you react?
Well, the good news is they will not walk down my street. I don't live in Milwaukee. So
you will
that's
be
your
here.
problem.
You will be here. It's going to be all our problems, man. Anytime the Nazis walk down the street, that's a problem.
And you think the Nazis are coming?
I absolutely do. Sure.
More than 10?
Yes.
More than 100?
I mean, maybe. Who's to say? I mean, you saw. Come on. You saw what Donald Trump did. He made the call, the clarion call. Come to D.C. We'll be wild, and all the Proud Boys and all the white nationalists and the 3%ers, and pick your poison.
But why would he call them and understand from Trump logic? Because this is Trump's party, right? Do you invite a bunch of hoodlums to your party? I mean, seriously, do you invite the hoodlums? I don't think he did. I didn't hear him saying, "Hey, come to Milwaukee. We'll be wild." Not yet. Might get there.
Yeah. You don't think that they want to come see their orange messiah, man? I mean, this is their guy, right? This is his moment. This is a conviction. This is the lawfare of their orange messiah.
Think the Proud Boys are hanging out waiting for a political convention to get together to espouse their ideology? Do you think that's what they're in it for?
Let me ask you this, Crute. When we went to Cleveland, were there those types of people there?
Very small numbers.
You think there'll be more or less of them this time?
I would say numerically more.
Yeah.
Numerically more. But still substantially less than you're fearing. Trump is not going to call a January 6th moment on his own party, dude. Now, sometimes when he puts stuff on social media, it gets out of hand. You know what I mean? We'll be wild. Come to my party. It will be wild.
Come to my party. It's going to be a great time. We'll be wild. I will. Apparently, Trump going to announce his VP selection. It's going to be wild, man. Who's it going to be?
I know who it's going to be. And I mean this in all sincerity. And I learned this from a right-wing talk radio host.
Ooh.
And I verified their logic, and I see the veracity. I know who Trump is choosing as his vice presidential.
Well, who?
Well, I can't tell you yet.
Oh,
I'm saving that for a bigger audience. Tell all your friends, come gather around.
We'll be wild.
Crudy's going to steal Trump's thunder. I know who his VP is going to be.
This report is brought to you by Freedom Fireworks, with 18 locations throughout southeastern Wisconsin. Go to freedomfireworkswi.com.
Wisconsin's new testing requirements for any dairy cow that's going to a county fair come into play today. I'm Pam Yonke with a quick update on what's happening in food and farming news on a Thursday. Today is the beginning of the Elroy Fair in Elroy, the first fair that will have to implement those testing requirements. Their president says they're ready. Details on the way.
On a dairy, decisions are never made in a vacuum. Your products, technologies, protocols, they're all connected. Or at least they should be. Introducing Empowered Dairy from Merck Animal Health, the only full solution portfolio in the dairy industry. Empower is more than just powerful identification, monitoring, and biopharma tools. It's about how they work together to eliminate guesswork and solve specific problems. Learn how at m-power-dairy.com.
Marie Price is the president of the Elroy Fair Board, and she said as far as these testing requirements are concerned for lactating dairy cows, it's really nothing new for her.
The Wisconsin dairy industry is very resilient, and many years ago, I'm kind of dating myself here, I've been involved in the fair industry for over 40 years, and it was common. We had to, the week before the fair, get a brucellosis blood test, and since we've eradicated that disease from the state of Wisconsin, we went away from that testing requirement. We no longer have to do that. So I think this is just a bump in the road that we're going to see until we get all the protocols in place and everything organized, but I really do not see this have a long-term impact.
Marie Price, president of the Elroy Fair Board. Their fair starting today. She said the number one item they want to focus on, making sure that fair goers know everything connected to the dairy industry, meat as well as dairy products, are still safe. The Wisconsin Department of Ag, Trade, and Consumer Protection yesterday announced that to date, the National Veterinary Services Laboratory has confirmed the presence of high-path avian influenza in more than 100 dairy herds in 12 states, including Iowa, Michigan, and Minnesota, but not Wisconsin.
Wisconsin soybean growers have lots of choices when it comes to selecting seed varieties. If you're a seed dealer, help make their choice a little easier by shining the spotlight on your products through the Wisconsin Soybean Yield Contest. By entering customers in the contest by the August 31st deadline, seed dealers will receive $100 for one grower, $200 for 3, and $300 for 5 or more. Growers must complete an entry and harvest form to qualify. For more information, visit wisoybean.org.
And popular farm store Blaine's Farm and Fleet has announced they're promoting Mark Hastings to Chief Executive Officer and President, and also Kim Treese to Chief Stores Officer. Jane Blaine Gilbertson will continue as Executive Chair of the Board and remain the sole owner of Blaine's Farm and Fleet and Blaine Supply Incorporated. I'm Pam Yankee.
This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
Guess what? Today marks the summer solstice. Sitting under mostly cloudy skies, highs today will rise to the upper 70s. Shouts of showers and thunderstorms still soak our afternoon and evening. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. It's 70 degrees at our studios.
It's that time of year again. The 4th of July is right around the corner, and Freedom Fireworks has everything your family needs for a safe and exciting holiday celebration. With 18 southeastern Wisconsin locations fully stocked up with everything from sparklers to artillery shells, thundersnaps to 500-gram aerials, Freedom Fireworks guarantees to bring smiles and cheers to every backyard celebration. For fireworks from all the top brands and specials that can't be beat, go to freedomfireworkswi.com for a location near you. Freedom Fireworks wishes you a safe and happy 4th of July.
This is Chad Spate. Sometimes I'm overwhelmed by the hatred and misinformation that consumes our world, but I also know that we cannot build a house of justice and inclusion on a foundation of hatred and lies. We have to practice what we preach. At Chad's Design Build, we confront injustice the same way we confront a poorly built home, with love, compassion, intelligence, and persistence. We engage our community the way we engage our clients, with honesty and humility and the dogged determination that we can do better. Chad's Design Build, remodeling done well with love.
Teach Schwaba.
On the next Nightlight, I welcome Tim Sowers from the Overture Center for the Arts in Madison. I'm also joined by Mary Rose Eckberg from Make Music Madison.
The Devil's Advocate, radio for the 99%.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Thursday edition. Dom's wishing it was Friday. I know how you think.
Man, it's Summerfest. These are all going to kind of blur and blend together. It doesn't really matter what day it is anymore.
Dom, it's 1 week from a wake-up call. Next Thursday night, June 27th, Devil's Advocates and our partners, the Barrymore Theater and the Progressive Magazine, throwing the greatest party of all time. Political party, let's set expectations properly. But we're going to do a panel discussion, Devils and Maggie Dawn, others invited. And that's at 7, 8 o'clock. The most important presidential debate of your lifetime. The cost, it's free. So you're welcome. Bring a little beer money. They prefer cash at the bar. And if you want to throw a few bucks in for the Devils, we'd appreciate your generosity, but we also accept loose joints, as pointed out earlier by my partner. 844-967-2789. Dom, I don't know. I wonder if I should save this thunder for later in the big program or share it with the audience now.
Man, you got to save it. You got to save it. I want to save it. Let's save it till at least.
I know who Trump is picking.
You keep saying
as
that.
the vice president. I do know. And I've proven it to myself, the veracity of a right-wing radio hosts making the representation, but I followed their logic. I reverse engineered it. I did it myself. I proved to myself Trump has made his selection. And no one's going to be very excited about it. Not even this person's spouse.
Can you?
I wouldn't suspect.
Crute, today is Thursday, June 20th. It is the solstice, the longest day of the year. And we're still waiting for the U.S. Supreme Court to drop their ruling on whether or not the former president has absolute immunity for all of his criming while in office. Now, that could be what? Today, tomorrow, could be next week.
It's not going to be today. They've already dropped their cases for the day.
So it's no longer today. So it could be presumably what? Next week, the 27th. It could come out literally the day of the debate, right? Or maybe they push it. Maybe
if it doesn't come out tomorrow, it's coming out next Thursday in probability.
Right. And then, so that's going to be, no matter what that is, that's going to be big news. And then, of course, the debate, that's also going to be big news. I mean, Trump's going to be, he have all these things on his mind. He's got this ruling coming down. He's got the debate. And then what? 1, 2, 3 weeks from today, we got the debate. We got the ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court on immunity. And then he has his sentencing. And then he rolls into Milwaukee. Now, I'm just saying, what do you think the demeanor, the mood's going to be if it's 30 days, if it's no immunity, if it's he gets crushed on the debate? What do you think the tenor will be? Hell, look, give me the opposite. What if he has absolute immunity and he crushes Joe Biden at the debate, and then he gets a slap on the wrist? What do you? Those are two totally different scenarios. These days are coming quick. In 3 weeks, we're going to know the result of those three very important things. Do you think whether one thing happens or the other that it's going to change the tone, the tenor, the attitude of those 50,000 megas coming to Milwaukee?
I think it absolutely could. I mean, I've seen you when you get hangry, you get very, very bitter. I cannot imagine how bitter the MAGA are going to be if their guy can't even attend the convention, let's say, because he's been taken into custody. Remanded, I think they call that, Dom.
Right?
And let's say his outcome is not a good one for him. Maybe he got a year in prison. A year. Or a year plus a day. So he, only has to serve 85% because I'm sure he'll get the good behavior time.
He certainly, yes, as he's been felt so bad about the criming that he's done. I mean, he's deserved to be let go soon.
I think a significant sentence could certainly inspire petulance, like you on a hungry day or a tequila.
More petulance. Okay, so a sentence would be bad. If Joe Biden lights his ass up on that debate stage, if Trump comes out of that losing. Now remember, he as we talked about. I mean, Trump has lowered the bar to such a degree that if Joe Biden doesn't trip and fall, he wins that debate. So let's just say Trump loses the debate.
Losing,
and he gets
Define losing. Trump's been prepping for this debate, and I would point out most presidents in their first reelective debate, they don't necessarily do well. See Obama and Mitt Romney. And why is that? Because they're really not challenged a lot. Once you're the president of the United States, pretty much you get to say what you want. You get to walk away from any press conference. You don't have to do anything except friendly media if you don't want to. So, there should be lowered expectations for Joe Biden's performance, just historically speaking. I'm not trashing Joe. I'm just saying presidents going on the debate stage don't always do so well, the incumbents. And above and beyond that, yes, if you believe the Trumpsters, the MAGAs, Joe's going to either pass out, freeze up, or fall over because he can't stand up for 90 minutes. I mean, they think this is very important. Joe Biden's got to stand for 90 minutes. Joe Biden rides a bike. I haven't seen Trump stand from the tee box to the green on a par 3. You know what I'm saying?
Got to get in that golf cart, man.
Well, he does. He does. Of course. He rides around. He'd do a quarter mile and he'd get out of the golf cart at the start and the finish time. Quarter mile. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't walk. He doesn't do anything. So questioning whether the physical health of Joe Biden will prevent him from standing for 90 minutes without freezing or falling over. That is the lowered expectations of the right. And what they think is that Biden totally face plants, totally craps himself. Well, then they'll just slide Michelle Obama in. That's what they think the conspiracy's been the whole time. The late replacement, the late substitution. Now, logic would dictate that if Joe was physically incapable of moving forward as a candidate, well, he's got a VP. Her name's Kamala Harris. She becomes the top of the ticket. But setting that part aside, let's assume Joe whoops his ass. And I think there's a possibility that that could happen. I think that Trump's still going to spin it as a victory. Joe lied through his teeth. He's a communist. He's a Marxist.
It was me against all three of them. Fake Tapper, Dana bashing me, and the other guy. I mean, he's already laid that out. That's what Trump does. Of course, he's going to do that.
But there would be no circumstance in which Trump does not claim victory in the debate, to my opinion.
Right.
And above and beyond that, Trump actually in the last debate with Joe Biden. And that was a miserable thing to watch. This, fortunately, when you come join us at the Barrymore Theater, they will be turning off the candidates' microphones at the end of their time. So theoretically, Trump can be downstage yelling at Joe Biden, but what he cannot do is speak over the top. So the people at home are going to hear what Joe's saying.
Right.
They might hear some distant Trump bemoaning something, it's so fair. You might hear Trump in the background. But I think this will be a different tenor debate. But it was Trump's opinion prior, and I'm sure he heard it many times. He didn't do himself any favors by basically talking all over Joe Biden.
Well, what did Biden say? Shut up, man. You know what I mean?
Well, Biden came off smiling primarily and did give him the old shut up, man. Come on, man, shut up, or whatever he said precisely. But it didn't favor Trump. As a electoral outcome, Trump lost, according to immediate polling after that debate, lost a lot of swing voters. People didn't like his tenor. So I think a victory for Trump, air quotes, victory for Trump in this debate, will be if he comes off as a little more magnanimous. But there are a couple of tough questions.
Have you ever, during Trump's political cycle, in all the things that we've seen Donald Trump, is there ever a time where you would have listened to Donald Trump and say, wow, that was very magnanimous? I'm surprised.
Have I ever heard him be magnanimous? Yes, but in a debate was not the format. You know what I'm saying? Not mano a mano against Joe Biden.
Do you remember the circumstances? Because I don't, man. I really don't. I don't remember him ever not being anything other than I'm Trump, I'm in your face, and F you, and F your feelings. I don't know Trump to be that.
I've seen Trump be magnanimous, personally magnanimous in meeting people and introducing people. But you got to be on his team, man. If you're a Trump loyalist, if you're someone he's endorsing, sure, I've seen plenty of magnanimous behavior from Trump. But if you're a sworn enemy who sent his chief prosecutor to New York to go run this political witch hunt against me, if that guy's standing down the stage and you believe it in your heart of hearts as Trump claims to, well, how do you show that you're magnanimous? How do you act above?
He would have to be able to control his own feelings, and he would have to be able
strong opinion, Mr. Biden. That's
right. Never going to happen. Never. I would be shocked. I mean, it'd be like Rocky coming out and fighting southpaw, man. That's just not going to happen.
You don't think they've had Trump chasing a chicken around the backyard?
Yeah, they just
getting him in
tied his arm to his side and had him hit the bag for hours. I mean, they could try. I mean, certainly could try. I mean, I think there's a lot of smart people in the world. He's probably got people that are very committed to him to win this. They know how important it is, and they've been around the block, and they're probably some professionals trained in the art. Let's say he's got professionals around him. He always has, but he's always his own counsel, man. He's going to do what he thinks he needs to do, regardless of what anybody else says. And what is his default? What's his default? I'm the greatest. This is all a witch hunt against me, and only I can fix it. I mean, that's it. And he's not cordial about it. He's not nice about things. He might be nice to you for a minute, then he steps on your face and stabs you in the back, and then when he's ready for you again, maybe he'll put up the call and he'll be kind of nice again, maybe a little bit. He's just not that guy. So I don't know that he's going to be able to come off of this debate being a down-to-earth, magnanimous, respectful candidate. He's never been that. It's not going to start now. So my concern being, if I just put a bow on it, and we can get some callers, 844-967-2789. Good or bad? Maybe, this ruling comes down from the Supreme Court. It's going to be a negative ruling towards Donald Trump one way or the other. The debate comes out. Probably not going to do as well as he thinks he wants to do. Then he's going to get, in 3 weeks from today, he's going to be sentenced. And it's probably not going to be what he wants. And then 4 days later, maybe he'll roll into Wisconsin, maybe he won't. But he's going to be firing up his crowd, his mega, for the next 3 weeks, man, next 4 weeks. And if it's bad news for Trump, it's bad news for his mega, and he's going to rile them up, and they're going to be pissed off rolling into Milwaukee for their convention. And I think that doesn't bode very well.
Well, I can't see beyond the debate because that's the next big party on the calendar, Dom. I can tell you the tone at the Barrymore Theater will be festive. But, if this was like a boxing match, to hear Trump tell it, he's going up against Glass Joe, and he's like Iron Don, right? and remember when Tyson was invincible for years, and then there was that Buster Douglas fight.
He got a video game out of it.
Down goes Tyson, right? And
body blow.
Yes, but here's my point. If they start going disastrously for Trump in the debate, don't be shocked if he doesn't do what Mike Tyson did to Evander Holyfield.
Bite his ear?
Try to bite his ear off. I mean, who's the late great guy, the serial killer he admires so?
Oh,
Hannibal Lecter.
Yes.
He would eat Joe's ear with a side of Chianti.
Oh, no. That fight, actually, last time I ever bought a pay-per-view fight was Tyson Holyfield, and it got canceled. It was not a fight. He bit his ear off, and then that was over. Last time I ever paid for a boxing.
Was that also the one where that guy with the parachute and the flew into the ring? Was that the same day?
I remember that. I don't know if it was the same day or not.
I just remember when Buster Douglas beat Tyson, and that was the same night as an NBA Slam Dunk Championship. We watched the championship, then we went over to Oakland, apartment 48. They had the fight with laser lights. I had a good feeling, but no money on Buster Douglas that night. But down goes Tyson. Didn't believe it was possible, Dom. Well, Trump ain't training like that. He
No.
might be chasing somebody's wife around the backyard, but it ain't a chicken. Come back. More Devil's Advocates. I will break you.
To Mad Radio WMDX, Madison's home for the Todd Albo Show.
Do you like Delta 8? It'd be cooler if you did. We proudly announce the Devil's Advocates have partnered with Herbal Aspect to bring your newest Delta 8 favorites, Devil's Gummies, exclusively at herbalaspect.com. Legal for consumption by adults, they may be mailed directly to your home. Always use Devil Radio at checkout to let Herbal Aspect know where you heard them. Order today for delivery. Devil's Gummies and Devil Radio exclusive specials only from herbalaspect.com. Code Devil Radio. Darcy Haber, I hear you have solar panels on your office building. Since when are real estate brokers so concerned about the environment?
Crute, you should know that at Solidarity Realty, we provide outstanding real estate service while adhering to our core progressive values. Environmental sustainability is a big part of that.
So you really walk your talk, huh?
Yeah, even walk to work.
Come on, always.
Well, sometimes I bike, and if I have an appointment across town, I use my solar panels to charge my plug-in.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, and they're honest. Check them out at solidarityrealty.com. For the Love of Democracy Tour, sponsored by Chance Design Build, announces the greatest political party ever. Join the Devil's Advocates at the Barrymore Theater, Madison, Thursday, June 27th for a pre-presidential debate panel discussion featuring attorney Maggie Dawn and the Devil's Advocates at 7 p.m. Biden versus Trump, the most important presidential debate of your lifetime, to follow at 8 p.m. Admission is free. You're welcome, but bring cash for the bar and donations will be accepted at the door.
Hey, Brad from Zero Res Madison here. What's the best way to clean your carpet? Well, not surprisingly, it's the same way you clean your clothes. You look to clean a dirty shirt by running a white cloth over the top of it. sprinkling chemicals and rubbing it in. For a real clean, you need hot water, agitation, and a cleaning agent, just like your laundry. For a fresh, healthy clean with no residue, call Zero Res Madison or schedule online. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
60% of the time, they're right every time. The Devil's Advocates.
Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Happy Friday Eve to us all. Join us on the lines, 844-967-2789.
The summer solstice happening right now.
Right now.
Right now. The exact time. 4:51 Eastern, 3:51 Central Time. We've just turned from 51 to 52 down. We've just experienced the exact moment when the Earth's North Pole is most tilted towards the sun. And then you let the good times roll, man, because it's summer up in here. And, nothing like a Devil's Advocate summer party. You'll be there next Thursday, I suspect. We've been training for it, much like the candidates in the debate. We should do some sort of a foxy boxing sort of event someday.
Oh, get the big sumo outfits and do it for charity. What are you telling me?
Well, I'm not saying sumo outfits. I have offered to box Dan O'Donnell for charity a couple times. I'll do it again today. Dan, if you'll do it, I'll do it. I'll get in shape, ish. I'll train. Go chase a bucket of chicken around the backyard.
Chase a bucket of chicken wings or chase some KFC around the backyard.
But if properly motivated, and I think a foxy boxing style fight with Dan O'Donnell would properly motivate me, Dom, I would do it. Dan could pick his favorite charity, as long as it's not like the Americans for Prosperity.
The Heritage Foundation. It's not going well. I mean, ever since Donald Trump got convicted of those 34 felonies, apparently Fox News polling today shows Joe Biden gaining some ground.
Yes.
And then we're going to get into this U.S. Supreme Court. Then we're going to get the debate. And then he's going to get sentenced. I'm just telling you, he's raging already about these things. He's not gonna all of a sudden, get above the fray. He doesn't know how to do that. It's not within him. He cannot possibly do that. He's going to bring all the angst, all the anger, all that Trump, all that stuff to Milwaukee, man. And it's going to suck.
You rage against the machine each and every day, like damn near every day. And I've seen decorum out of you. It's brief. It happens in spurts. But I think he could also fake it for a short period of time. As long as he's not, here's the interesting part. I love the promises from the RNC, Even if he's in prison, we're going to have our man at the...
We got a great stage. We got great technology. We're prepared to take Donald Trump no matter where he is.
Do you have the consent of the warden for that game plan? That would be my question.
Does the probation officer have to give approval?
That would certainly change the dynamic if the guy was in jail. But let's say he gets his, 90 days suspended, awaiting appeal or something of that sort. Let's assume he's here. I think anything that keeps him out of prison in the immediate sense, if he's not in jail, if he's in Milwaukee, then that's a victory of sorts, because by accepting the nomination, A, gets exactly what he wants. Historically, like Joe Biden will come out the night before. He'll come out on Wednesday, and he'll celebrate with his vice president and her husband, Imhoff and Kamala Harris. That's what they do. They'll come out one time prior, and then the night of the nomination, that's the Thursday night, regalia, be it the Dems or the Republicans, then the candidate's supposed to come out. Trump didn't do it like that.
No, man.
He came out
every
day,
night. It was all about Trump. Of course it is, man. Come on. That's all it's about.
Well, it's always about Trump.
It's not about service. It's not about uphold the Constitution or whatever they claim their platform may or may not be. It's not about any of that. It is about the cult of personality. It's about the cult of Trump.
Well, he's the ratings machine. And this is what I'm saying. This is the saving grace. Trump's not going to want to step on his own ratings. He's not going to want to encourage the Proud Boys to come and break stuff because they will distract from his close-up.
But there's going to be lots
which he'll demand each day of the convention.
but presumably there will be protests against the MAGA. There will be protests against the racism and the hatred and all that. Right? There's going to be that. Okay, I mean, so those folks
you
come,
think
and you asked me why the Proud Boys or the the Nazis, those folks can come, because they're going to be the other side of the protest. There's going to be dueling protests going on in the city of Milwaukee. Do you think that's the case, or do you think it's only going to be one-sided?
I mean, I think those that would protest against the Republicans, I think will probably pull a permit, follow the assigned marching route, and, they might raise their ruckus and hold up their signs loud and proud, Dom, but I don't think that impacts anyone, right? I mean, you talk about being within sight and sound. We don't even know what the protest zone is.
We don't even know what it is
yet. There's going
to
to be a lawsuit. There's going to be fighting in federal court right up to the moment of the actual convention.
And then do you think there's going to be the Trump supportive, the very vocal, the very ones that are angry about, poisoning the blood? Those folks are come out and counter protest. You think there's a concern?
I think you're giving them too much
especially
credit.
I was just calling it as I see them, man. Especially given the circumstances, bad polling, right? Doing bad in the debate. He doesn't get the ruling on this U.S. Supreme Court. And he gets sentenced. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of grievance when Donald Trump comes to Milwaukee.
Well, you're rooting against every possible negative occurrence. Yeah, man, if I break my toe, fall down the stairs, get hit by a car on my way to work tomorrow, I'm probably going to come to work a little grouchy. And if I could spread that to some others, I just might do it. Yeah. But probably all those things are not going to happen in rapid succession. Come on, man, if I get to come be on the radio with you, that's fun time. And we are the ratings machines around here. So I got to think Trump's got a similar feeling, like, I'm not going to screw up my good time.
I doubt it. But we'll see. That's why we live through the days.
Well, that's why I have you here, to burst everyone's bubble, Dom. More of that in the 4 o'clock hour. Wisconsin summers are too short, so this year we decided to make the most of it. Crute called Go Landscaping, and Cody and his team will take it from here. Go Landscaping can bring your jungle under control or create the lasting outdoor living space you've always dreamed about. Specializing in stone and paver construction, Go Landscaping are the landscaping pros you need. Do what Crute did. Call Cody at Go Landscaping today to get started. 608-807-9245.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us. You're listening to Mad Radio, WMDX 1580 AM Columbus, W224EG Madison, and always streaming on the Civic Media app.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Growing concerns of escalations between Israel and Hezbollah militants in Lebanon could spill over. The U.S. says it's working diplomatic channels to tamp down on tensions. The White House also denying claims by Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu that the U.S. is delaying weapons shipments. The Prime Minister also facing backlash in Israel. ABC's Tom Sufi Burridge is there.
We're seeing thousands of protesters once again marching from the Israeli parliament, the Knesset, in Jerusalem towards Netanyahu's official residence. We were there a couple of days ago. These are people who want elections, they want an end to the war in Gaza, and they want the hostages home.
The White House says it's reprioritized weapons deliveries to countries putting Ukraine first, but says weapons shipments to Israel and Taiwan will not be impacted. Excessive heat advisories stretching across at least 16 states, causing cities in upper New England to open cooling centers this week. Fire crews in New Mexico still trying to contain wildfires, now blamed for 2 deaths. This is ABC News.
This news report is sponsored by Wisconsin Capital Management, LLC, serving their clients for 40 years. Visit wiscap.com. Media News. I'm Harry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. A committee of professors at UW-La Crosse is deciding whether disgraced former Chancellor Joe Gow should lose his job as a tenured professor. Interim Chancellor Betsy Morgan says she can't trust Gow after he made online porn.
My level of trust in the ability for him to be able to be an effective faculty member is very low. And my level of trust for him to sort of protect the university's best interest is low.
A two-day hearing wrapped up Thursday morning. Gow lost his top post at UWL late last year. He maintains he did nothing wrong. Wisconsin has had 24 tornadoes already this year. The latest was Monday in Colby. There were only 23 tornadoes all of last year, which is average. The record for a season in Wisconsin was 62 in 2005. I'm Terry Bell, Civic Media News. Now here's what you need to know closer to home.
This is news from WMDX Madison. I'm Savannah Tomei-Olson. Crews are moving an entire apartment building today. Not the people inside, the building itself. Workers are relocating the home at 438 West Dayton Street to 531 West Mifflin. This process makes way for a new apartment project from the same Chicago company who's done student housing like Hub and the James. At more than 750,000 pounds, this is the heaviest structure ever moved in Madison. The carriage house behind it is moving too, but that's a lot lighter and easier to manage. You can expect road closures nearby. After this is done, other houses will need to be relocated too. And construction has officially begun on Madison's Center for Black Excellence and Culture. They broke ground yesterday. It's been in the works for years as organizers work to figure out what kind of space is missing from the community. The Center for Black Excellence and Culture is expected to open at the end of 2025. And that's what you need to know. I'm Savannah Tomei-Olson. This is WMDX News.
The Brewers win another series. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The Brewers beat the Angels 2-0 in a pitcher's duel between Freddie Peralta and the Angels' 34-year-old lefty Tyler Anderson. Top of the eighth, Willie Adames up to bat on Bally Sports Wisconsin.
Angels have been working around Adames in this game to face Hoskins. Base open at first, and now Adames, a broken bat, little flare, left field. That's going to bounce fair. Yelich will score, and Willie Adames picks up a big stake. It's a broken bat RBI single, makes it 2-0 Brewers in the eighth.
Tonight, the Crew are in San Diego to open a long 4-game series against the Padres. NFL, former tackle David Bakhtiari on ESPN asked, what does he think of the Packers' new quarterback, Jordan Love?
Jordan, I mean, I got to be honest with you. I think the guy's a stud. Quiet, yet confident and soft-spoken, yet caring. I got a chance to get, somewhat close to him. You just root for guys like him.
That's David Bakhtiari. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
Guess what? Today marks the summer solstice. Sitting under mostly cloudy skies, highs today will rise to the upper 70s. Shots of showers and thunderstorms still soak our afternoon and evening. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. It's 73 degrees at our studios.
For the Love of Democracy Tour, sponsored by Chance Design Build, announces the greatest political party ever. Join the Devil's Advocates at the Barrymore Theater, Madison, Thursday, June 27th for a pre-presidential debate panel discussion featuring attorney Maggie Dawn and the Devil's Advocates at 7 p.m. Biden versus Trump, the most important presidential debate of your lifetime, to follow at 8 p.m. Admission is free, you're welcome, but bring cash for the bar and donations will be accepted at the door.
Wisconsin Capital Management in Madison is a registered investment advisory firm and has been serving their clients for the past 40 years. The firm is focused on providing investment advisory services to its affiliated mutual funds. Their approach to investment management is designed to provide competitive performance over the entire business cycle. Their clients rely on them to manage their assets through the fluctuations of market cycles, and they strive to outperform over the long term. For information, visit wiscap.com.
John Peterson and Gordy Young.
On our next show, Rocker will be in the studio with the Max Inc. preview.
And we'll have another edition of Johnny at the Movies.
First thing in the morning.
The John and Gordy Show. Weekday morning, 6 until 8. The Devil's Advocates radio show is broadcast under a time brokerage agreement between Devil Radio and Civic Media, Inc. Some portions of this program may be pre-recorded. Warning, you're about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the Civic Media Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
And now, here's your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Thursday edition. 1 week until a presidential debate, Dom, and a big presidential debate party in Madison, but anyone can attend June 27th, 7 p.m. The pre-party starts with Dom Crute, Maggie Dawn, and then the debate at 8 o'clock. Admission is free. Bring some cash for the bar and a donation if you're feeling generous. But Dom, it's a week till the debate. This has captivated my imagination, this debate. I think it's a big deal. Perhaps the most important deal of your lifetime.
Again.
Presidential debate.
Yes,
Wise.
yes. And what are your expectations, Gertie? They lay it down, man.
My prediction, pain.
Pain. For whom?
Well, it was pointed out, and I have been checking the text line already, Dom. A few of the callers said, 90 minutes on his feet? That could be a long time. Joe should ask for a chair. Well, I suspect they'll be able to sit for a moment during the intermission. They'll probably do like a halftime break at least. CNN will want to sell some commercials.
Right?
So there'll be some breakaway segment. I've noted you stand during the show, but during the commercial breaks, you often go and sit down.
Yeah.
So rest your ass for a minute and whatever. So I don't think that's really going to be any hindrance for either candidate. I think they're capable of standing, perhaps with a short intermission break. Above and beyond that, Dom, I wonder if Donald Trump is beginning to feel it slipping away from him. Fox News today has got new polling out. And for the first time in 9 months, Joe Biden is beating Donald Trump in the Fox News polling. And Trump's losing his freaking mind.
Well, of course, because it's Fox News poll, and it's never been good for Donald Trump. And remember that other guy, he sits on the board. What's his name? The former Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan. He's a dog. Get the dog off your board.
I'm leading big. Now, Trump continues meltdown over polls suggesting his campaign is collapsing. I don't know if it goes that far, but here's how's it's being reported. Donald Trump continued raging this afternoon over a new Fox News poll showing him falling behind President Joe Biden for the first time since last year. The president, that's Biden, moved into the lead for the first time since October in a hypothetical matchup with the presumptive Republican nominee who spent much of the morning attacking the conservative media organization that conducted the poll, which showed Biden up 50-48 in a head-to-head race. The latest Fox News poll is trash, Trump posted on his Truthy social. They used a biased Democrat-leading sample of voters, polling more Biden 2020 voters than Trump 2020 voters to skew the results in favor of Crooked Joe. Now, I'll save you the crosstabs on the actual polling, about 1,100 people, Dom, but more from the disgraced former.
The raging. He just cannot contain himself.
I'm leading big in virtually every other poll, including in all key battleground states like Wisconsin, where I just held a massive rally. It was fairly large, the crowd substantial in Racine, and Pennsylvania, where I will be on Saturday. Also, the number one issue in this country is not protecting democracy. It's inflation and immigration. Because watch how he tries to claim he's the candidate of democracy, Dom. If protecting democracy, Trump is your best choice because crooked Joe Biden is the greatest threat to democracy in history with his open border and weaponization of the justice system against his political opponent, me. Me. It's always about him, right? Capitalized me exclamation point. Fox News polls have never treated me or MAGA fairly. Don't worry, we will win. Fox News should get rid of Paul Ryan and get a new pollster, but they won't. I mean, taking a crack at Paul Ryan just because he's talking and Fox News is somehow attached. But there's more, Dom. Wait, there's more.
Didn't Paul Ryan say that Donald Trump was unfit to serve as recently as last week?
About a week ago.
Yeah.
Nobody ever trusted Fox News, and I'm one of them with the weak and ineffective Rhino Paul Ryan on its board of directors. That was yesterday's posting, Dom. He's a total lightweight, a failed and pathetic Speaker of the House, and a very disloyal person.
Ooh, see, you got to watch out for that. Disloyal.
That's what really bothers me.
Well, anybody rid me of these disloyal former speakers of the House.
Rupert and Lachlan. Murdoch, get that dog off your board. You don't need him. All you need is Trump. Make America great again.
All you need is love.
No, all you need is
all you need is Trump. Yeah, Trump's going to save democracy. That's what he did last time, right after he lost the election and lost all the court challenges and lost all the recounts, and conspired with Republicans in the House and senators and Senate leadership to overthrow the government. That's the guy who says is going to protect democracy.
Yes, a little irony there.
You think?
But what about the fact that he's attacking the Fox News polling, Dom? I mean, if it's in Fox News, and I've got to say, from a polling perspective, Fox News isn't quite as bad as Rasmussen, but they're certainly right of center. They're certainly seeking outcomes for their polls that would seemingly indicate that their ideology is right, correct. So to attack a Fox News poll, Dom, I would say, if anything, this probably underestimates the amount of shift of the electorate since the guilty verdicts came down. Because this has been a 3-point swing in the Fox News polling since May and a 5-point swing since March. They're moving away from Trump to Biden, according to Fox News. No wonder he hates their ass. You know, it's interesting, Dom. This new polling came out yesterday. You know where you wouldn't have heard about it? On Fox News. The Foxy News people, they don't really want to talk about it much. You can talk with us, 844-967-2789. But did you note that? Did you know that none of the primetime hosts really wanted to talk about the
didn't really talk about it a whole lot
on the Fox News? You know, they don't talk about the Fox News on the Fox News much. Let me get to it. Here's what the Washington Post had to say. A new Fox poll has Biden up. Fox's primetime hosts didn't mention it. Now, Dom, I had a little run-in myself. It's been a couple years since I've been on Fox News. It was getting to be sort of a regular thing every 6 weeks or so. And what was my major complaint? Do you remember what my complaint with the Foxy News was?
They weren't covering the J6 hearings.
They were not covering the J6 hearings, even though every other major media outlet was. And Fox News didn't have it on Fox News. Now, it was run on Fox Business, but they ran with their normal primetime lineup. You know, and at that time it included Tucker Carlson. So the J6 committee is having primetime. That was the very first one, if you'll recall. And that was on a Friday. And as fate would have it, and it was my birthday weekend, if I recall, 2 years ago, Crute had been invited on for a Sunday with Mike Emanuel. And I've been on his show a number of times. And they thought of me as sort of a reliable lefty they could paint into a corner and crap on Dom. They've been doing that for a couple of years. And as some that had been listening to the show for some period of time recalled, I was really sort of looking for an out clause. Didn't want to be quite as frequently on the Foxy News as I was. And quite frankly, I got death threats sometimes when I went on. But if I didn't get them before, I did this particular Sunday. I think it was June 13th, 2022, because I called out Fox News for their failure to cover the January 6th.
And take the fight to Republicans. Mike, what's your assessment?
The real fight is for democracy. The real fight is for the soul. And the real bull is that your network won't cover it.
Whoa, 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 whoa. We covered it plenty. We just aired it on the Fox Business Network. We sent it to all of our Fox stations.
Fox Business
Dude,
Network.
you're going to come on here. Let me set the record straight. I want to be neutral here, but when you attack our network, I got a problem with that.
Did you
Mike,
run any
that's the kind of
ads during
filth.
Tucker
Mike, let me get in
show?
here. Mike,
ahead.
hold on. That's the kind of filth we get from the other side,
Bill.
using profane
That's
language.
exactly the words.
This Jeff guy, I had appeared once prior, the other panelists that, the filth. I think my response was, well, I was just quoting Attorney General Bill Barr back to you. I think that's how I.
Well, I mean,
covered my
literally,
profanity.
Donald Trump's crowds at his rallies are chanting BS, BS, BS. So yeah,
I've heard Trump say,
spare me your pearl clutching. Oh, he said BS. We can't possibly listen to the guy you're following, right? Are you kidding me?
Well, it was funny because I kept pounding, and eventually they turned off my microphone, and I was supposed to stick around for a second segment, but as we went to a commercial break, similar to what we're doing here, the cameraman there in Madison, because I wasn't in the Fox News studios, I was here on a remote location. The cameraman said, when you said BS, the entire control room audibly gasped. And I'm thinking, good, then they heard it. And it played out. It did go somewhat viral. That did catch a few people's attention, Dom. But I thought it was important to point out, Fox News did not cover the January 6th, not live. And not only that, but during their primetime lineup, including Tucker Carlson, they wouldn't even put commercial breaks in. You're in the broadcast business to sell ads, right? They were so concerned during the commercial break that you might tune away and find someone else's coverage of the J6 committee hearing that night. They didn't play commercials. Can't quite trust them. But they're coming to Milwaukee. They're setting up camp for the RNC
Great.
3 weeks.
That'll be great. I can't wait.
And we'll tell you how they covered their own polling, the Fox News polling, last night during the prime time. Yes, you guessed it. They didn't.
Home for Nightlight with Peach Wildlife.
Hey, Dom, how many palindromes can you name in 30 seconds?
Race car, mom, dad, reefer, kayak, level. Did I say mom already?
You're forgetting one really important one.
Zero res.
Not only is it the coolest palindrome ever, it's also our favorite.
Right, I remember. Why is that again?
They advertise with us.
Zero res, my favorite palindrome.
And carpet cleaner. Get the best carpet cleaning ever. Schedule your carpet cleaning online at zeroresmadison.com. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
Hey folks, Stephanie Miller here. As an enlightened progressive, you know how important it is to do business in accordance with your politics. That's why Solidarity Realty is my favorite real estate firm in Madison. Solidarity Realty is a local independent realty company that lives their values. They provide outstanding expertise and protect your best interests while building community and promoting sustainability and diversity. Vive la resistance! Find them today at solidarityrealty.com. And don't forget, tell them Stephanie Miller sent you.
Do you like Delta 8? It'd be cooler if you did. We proudly announce the Devil's Advocates have partnered with Herbal Aspect to bring your newest Delta 8 favorites, Devil's Gummies, exclusively at herbalaspect.com. Legal for consumption by adults, they may be mailed directly to your home. Always use Devil Radio at checkout to let Herbal Aspect know where you heard them. Order today for delivery. Devil's Gummies and Devil Radio exclusive specials only from herbalaspect.com. Code Devil Radio.
At Chats Design Build, we provide remodeling done well with love. Our commitments extend beyond our workplace and your home to support our community. We judge people by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin, and we believe all humans deserve quality, publicly funded education, childcare, and health care. But what do you believe in? At Chats Design Build, we believe every person must have the opportunity.
He cannot.
If you're thinking about remodeling your home, go to chatsdesignbuild.com to learn more about our commitments to you, your home, and our community.
Devil's Advocates, political commentary from the back of the glass.
And we're back from the 420 break. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines open for your take on the political party line, 844-967-2789.
Dom, it's not just the RNC and the Republicans coming to Milwaukee. It's also Fox News. They're setting up camp, dude. They'll have inside coverage inside the Fiserv Forum. That'll be the host location. They're going to have a studio set in the Deer District, Dom. Fox News will be there.
Like literally running almost their full lineup of shows out of Milwaukee for that.
Out of Milwaukee that week. And, Fox News has a bit of a history here with the state of Wisconsin. If you'll recall, during the uprising, happened about a block away from where I'm sitting right now. I'm on State Street, 200 block. The Capitol's right there, the Wisconsin State Capitol. And when there were 100,000 peaceful protesters protesting Scott Wanker, who got his ass handed to him on CNN last night. If you haven't seen Ben Wickler lighting his ass up, I believe it's on the Devil's Advocates Facebook page. But anyways, when the uprising came and the peaceful protest came, do you recall how Fox News covered it, Tom? With fake video of fights breaking out in palm trees in Madison in winter.
Seems inaccurate. It's almost like Fox News has been Fox Lies. Wait, didn't they plead? No, they pled to a case, right? Like $800 million they had to pay to Dominion, and they're still in the midst of the Smartmatic case for $1 billion or $2 billion. They still have cases going on. So when you hear something,
their hosts, including Maria Bartiromo, they had to dump the one guy. Who was he? I forget, but they've had to get rid of a few. Tucker Carlson's now gone. He was also on the receiving end of some of those defamation allegations. But when your whole news organization's under lawsuit for defamation,
does that? But here's the thing: does that impact anybody listening? Any of the Fox heads out there that are like, "Well, I listen to Fox News, and that's my only source." And well, do you take into consideration that they literally settle for hundreds of millions of dollars, or are still literally in court in defamation cases for lying to their audience? Does that bother any of the audience, man? And now they're going to come rolling in to Milwaukee, and spread some more of that. I mean, what's going to be on it? Fair and balanced for
everyone.
And then the poll comes out, and they don't even talk about it.
Well, that's the interesting point. Let's go there. When Fox News has new polling, it often gives evening news host Brett Baer the honor of unveiling them. So on Wednesday, that was last night, Dom, Baer opened his show with new numbers from the channel's well-regarded pollsters. Good evening. I'm Brett Baer. We're releasing new Fox News polls right now about the presidential race. President Biden gets his best result this election cycle in the head-to-head against former President Donald Trump. He leads 50-48. That is within the margin of error. Now, Baer went on to show the recent trend in the Fox polling from a 5-point Trump lead in March to a 1-point lead last month. Again, all within the margin of error, a very tight race. True, fair. The trend since March has favored Biden, but the difference between Trump leading by 1 in May and trailing by 2 in June is not itself significant. It is a very tight race, maybe slightly tighter than a few weeks ago, but otherwise consistently so. The result, though, was the first time Biden has led in a Fox polling since October. That is not news that most Fox News viewers, a group that, let's just say, skews Republican and heavily pro-Trump, is interested in hearing. They don't want to tell them the truth because they will revolt against those that tell the truth.
They'll turn it off. They'll turn off the dial. They'll change the channel if they are told something that they don't like or they don't agree with.
So for the rest of the evening, Fox didn't talk about it much. Baer also had other stuff to get in before digging into the findings. He transitioned from a report about the poll into a story about a violent attack in New York City allegedly committed by an immigrant in the country illegally. The sort of story that comports entirely with Trump's campaign strategy. And by the end of the hour, he welcomed several panelists To discuss the poll numbers, one panelist touted the findings as good news for Biden. Another, the Washington Times, Charles Hurt, and understand that's where they let Scott Walker write a column. Any place that would let Scott Walker write a column
Consider
is a
the source.
partisan rag. So consider the source, the Washington Times. Charles Hurt shrugged at the finding that Americans were motivated by the perceived threat to democracy. At the end of the day, these elections usually don't turn on amorphous things like the future of democracy. Elections turn on things that really matter, like the economy and the border, issues where Trump has more of an advantage. The show before Bears is The Five, a chatty opinion show that generally noodles over whatever cultural war issue is animating the right in the moment. And on Wednesday's episode, that meant discussing reporting from Axios in which Democratic consultants fretted about Biden's positioning. Co-host Jesse Waters figured he knew why. If you look at polling doesn't change around June, he claimed. It usually locks in right about now. They must be freaking out. But the columnist writes, this isn't true. There are often shifts in polling in the final months of the race. Less than an hour later, of course, Fox News was about to offer evidence of such a shift. About 3 hours later on Waters' own show, he didn't mention the new Fox News data. Instead, he ran a segment about how Democrats and the left were in denial about recent polling, Dom. Again, a little touch of irony there.
Laura Ingram's show, which aired right after Bears, there was similarly no mention of the polls, save for a comment from guest Byron York about one of the other questions it included. On Gutfield, the channel's late-night comedy show, Gutfield mentioned the polling only to make a joke about recent data from CBS News. A little bit on that, Crute, I did pull up the actual poll. The number one topic, extremely important, 68% found it extremely important, the future of U.S. American democracy. Number one. Economy 2, stability and normalcy, whatever that means. That's number 3. Healthcare 4, immigration 5, abortion 6, guns, standing up to elite interests, climate change, and the Israel-Hamas war. Not only that, the Drudge, one of my favorites, Crute, they labeled it Trump's abysmal polling week. And they linked to a Newsweek article. Trump suffers abysmal polling week. Really? Not just this poll, 2 other polls from this week as well, showing a slight shift, although still within the margin of errors. And one of them polling about 10,000, 11,000 people.
Don't tell them that on Righty Whitey Talk Radio, Dom. They'll turn off the dial. More devil's advocates. Never turn off the dial. Thou shalt listen 3 hours a day.
Mad Radio WMDX, home of the John Gordy Show.
This report is brought to you by Freedom Fireworks, with 18 locations throughout southeastern Wisconsin. Go to freedomfireworkswi.com.
Civic Media News. I'm Terry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. The State Law Library will be renamed for Lavinia Goodell, the first woman lawyer in Wisconsin. Goodell moved to Wisconsin in 1871 and drafted a bill to guarantee women the ability to practice law in Wisconsin, which became law in 1877. The Law Library was named for former conservative Justice David Prosser. Turning waste from factory farms into fuel may not be the green energy boon its supporters say it is. Chris Hunt is a researcher for the Socially Responsible Agriculture Project. He says biogas doesn't solve the problem.
If we put money toward biogas, we're essentially helping to subsidize and further entrench industrial livestock production.
Biogas supporters say anaerobic digesters can be responsibly regulated. I'm Terry Bell, Civic Media News. Now here's what you need to know closer to home.
This is news from WMDX Madison. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. State officials are planning to rebuild the intersection where 4 teens died in a crash last month. May 27th, the accident happened on State Highway 1660 at County Highway TT in Dodge County. 4 Madison area teens died. A 5th was taken to the hospital in critical condition. Julio Alejandro Hernandez, who lost his daughter Alex, told WKOW that's not the first deadly crash there. For now, the Department of Transportation has added flashing lights and rumble strips. Officials tell the station they're not done. They plan to replace the the intersection with a roundabout, but not until 2030. And it's the summer solstice today. It's also the first day of Summerfest. This weekend's biggest acts are SZA, Motley Crue, Taking Back Sunday, the Goo Goo Dolls, OAR, All American Rejects, AWOL Nation, and Gin Blossoms. During the pandemic, the big gigs switched to a weekend format, so we get 3 whole weekends of music. And that's what you need to know. I'm Savannah Tomei-Olson. This is WMDX News.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. How does Usher stay in shape? He follows in the footsteps of his grandma. The pop star recently talked about his diet and exercise routine with the Wall Street Journal and says he credits his physique to meditation and starts his days with a drink consisting of celery juice, cayenne pepper, ginger lemon, and water, followed by a session of yoga. The pop icon also says he fasts on Wednesdays because that's what his grandma did. Isn't that sweet? And yeah, not eating, great way to keep the weight off. Fans of The Apprentice, or of its demise, might enjoy a new book called Apprentice in Wonderland, which is now available. Variety reports that the book details on-set meltdowns by host Donald Trump, which include racial slurs and storming off the set. The former president also claims that Deborah Messing was not only in love with him, but so thankful for the ratings lead-in The Apprentice provided for her show, Will and Grace. Since Trump said it, it must be true, except that it's not, because Will and Grace was on before The Apprentice. For more showbiz fun, tune into Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 7 to 9 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
This is your hometown radio, refreshed, keeping you informed, entertained, and connected locally across the Civic Media Network.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Tonight and Friday, cloudy with scattered showers and thunderstorms. Warm low tonight in the low 60s. Warmer with more humidity Friday, a high into the mid-80s. And mid-80s again Saturday with scattered showers and storms. Sunshine returns and a beautiful Sunday, high low 80s. Currently at 75 degrees.
It's that time of year again. The 4th of July is right around the corner, and Freedom Fireworks has everything your family needs for a safe and exciting holiday celebration. With 18 southeastern Wisconsin locations fully stocked up with everything from sparklers to artillery shells, thunder snaps to 500-gram aerials, Freedom Fireworks guarantees to bring smiles and cheers to every backyard celebration. For fireworks from all the top brands and specials that can't be beat, go to freedomfireworkswi.com for a location near you. Freedom Fireworks wishes you a safe and happy 4th of July.
Is doing it yourself not working out? Don't need the whole building for your business anymore? Call Alta's Commercial Real Estate. They'll help you find quality tenants to fill your vacancies. They market, they show, they negotiate the terms. They do all the legwork and keep you informed. Call Alta's Commercial Real Estate at 608-338-1101. 608-338-1101.
Next up, I'll be talking with Professor Mary Ellen O'Connell of the Notre Dame School of Law. We'll be talking about the law of war and how it applies in Gaza.
The Maggie.
The Devil's Advocates, rock and roll political commentary in a top 40 world.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Always appreciate your participation on the phones, on the text line. It's the same number. We keep it simple. 844-967-2789. Be like Joe from Madison and join us on the big show. Joe, welcome back. What do you got?
Hey, Joe.
You guys, thanks for bringing up how the trustworthiness of Fox News. I think this is really an important issue. The case that they were involved with at Dominion, the lawsuit that they were involved with, was no small little, oh, he said, she said sort of thing. It was the largest settlement of damages in a media industry in our history. And, well, why did they get that? How did they get that? I remember reading, before this case, went up to trial, they went up to the point of trial and then they settled. There was a lawyer online and he wrote, and I just found this so fascinating. He said, when I look at this Dominion lawsuit as a lawyer, years as a lawyer, I have never seen a more clear-cut example of defamation and malice and poor results that come about from this, that the company suffers because of this defamation. And it really opened my eyes, because what they were saying was, this is a company that has spent years creating this election software that they have, and they have plans to sell it not just in the United States, but all over the world. So here is Fox News. They're people in management and they're prominent hosts like Maria Bartoloma, people like that, were having folks on who were criticizing Dominion software and said that it was shifting votes away from Donald Trump, which was absolutely not true. So if you look at cases of defamation, it's okay. Number one, is it true what the people are saying? Answer is no. Second point, did they know it was untrue? Yep. And they went ahead and did it. There are internal documents that they found in the course of this case where the internal management of Fox and prominent hosts knew that it was wrong, it was incorrect, and they went ahead with it because they saw an advantage, a financial advantage in pitching this incorrect story.
Oh, come
So
on, Joe. They
fined
spent almost $1 billion, did not have to make that public admission.
Isn't that amazing, though? And they finally did. So they settled for the $787 million, which is a gigantic. It's not just a he said, she said. This is a huge blow. And this isn't the only one because, as recall, Smart Tech is just around the corner. They're still working their way through Smart Tech, another company that alleges the same thing. So what got me was just the fact that this company was ruined by what these people were saying about them. What Fox was saying about Dominion software, their election systems, ruined that company. It was an ordinary company, people working to develop, create, and market a product. And these people, because of their love of money, they wanted more ratings. That's what they wanted. They went ahead and slimed those people. So imagine you have a product and you spent a long time developing it and people get on air and just slime it. It's defamation, and that they went ahead and did it knowing that it was wrong. Oh man, they deserve everything they got. And for people to count on that news service is I mean, when you guys are wrong, you correct yourself. You don't persist. You go, well, we got that wrong. Here's how we got it wrong.
I mean,
It's
if we ever
okay
got
to get
something
it
wrong, Joe, we totally would admit it and acknowledge it and correct the record.
Rare occasion. Yeah. And it sure would be the situation where if you knew that it was wrong, you wouldn't persist just for your own benefit. That's
Of course. And that's Joe, and great point. And thank you so much for the call and always for listening. Yes, of course. We have character. We're not going to do that. That's not the point. That's Fox News. Well, apparently they have a different mission. Smartmatic, Joe. That's the name of the company. Just 10 days ago, Washington Post has an update on that. They're seeking to depose 4 Fox officials as part of its 2020 lawsuit, a $2.7 billion defamation lawsuit. I want to get some of these board members. They also go and kind of to the bottom of this article at the Washington Post. The Dominion case settled for $787.5 million before the April 2023 trial was scheduled to begin. In concluding, neither Fox nor Smartmatic has given any indication that they intend to settle this particular lawsuit, the $2.7 billion lawsuit. If Fox were to move for a settlement, it would likely do so ahead of any release of sensitive internal documents that could hurt the network's public image or embarrass network hosts and executives. Yeah. So I would expect Fox News, Fox Live is going to be cutting a fatter check this time. But welcome to Milwaukee. Please proceed with your lies.
844-967-2789. LA Tom, welcome back.
Hey, Tom.
I understand you got a sister listening to us today. Shout out to...
I do. My sister Anna's listening to you guys now. So she's in Chippewa Falls. So we're going to get you all around the state.
All
listening
right.
on 93.5 The Tap in Chippewa Falls.
Welcome, Ann.
Hey, why don't they play Maggie's show in the afternoon?
Hey, man, don't ask me anything about any other show on this lineup or you're going to get the back of my hand, Tom. Just saying.
All right. All I'm going to say is that you guys are definitely growing, and everybody, I'm out here in Los Angeles, originally a Wisconsinite, and just want to say that you have to download the app or go to domandcrute.com if you want, and, definitely download the app because you can get it anywhere. And it's just this network and this show in particular is so great. And that's all I really wanted to say. I wanted to say also that that fake Fox News, so I'm calling them now fake Fox News. nobody on the Republican side seems to want to take accountability for anything.
No.
I thought they were supposed to be about accountability.
No,
And I just wanna
victimhood
know, are we
mostly,
getting
Tom.
anywhere with
Victimhood.
the people? Victims. Is there any way at all that we're getting anywhere with these people like Gary and the other guy that calls in that sounds just like Gary and CJ? I mean, are we getting anywhere with these people? Like, are they starting to see the light? Can they look their grandchildren in the eyes and say, I voted for a convicted felon? I mean, that's just be put on their tombstone when they're done, if they, when they're off this planet. Also wanted to say that on voting, if anybody is voting ahead of time, my sister actually moved from one place to another, and she had to re-register to vote, and she was gonna vote, or she's voting absentee. And the thing is, because she put the number sign down for the number that they're living in, the apartment that they're living in, it got kicked back. So just make everyone really aware to register, and then check your registration. Make sure it's good, because these Republicans have tried to put things in place that are suppressing the vote and making it so it's much harder in the great state of Wisconsin to actually vote. So everyone check that. Don't ever take a provisional ballot. They don't count. And I think that's all I got today, guys.
Right on, Tom. Appreciate it, man.
Tom. Thanks for turning your sister on to the greatest radio show ever. And if you do not believe that, we may sue you for defamation.
Only because it's true.
I did verify I should verify both versions. The Dom and Crute.com still working. But what I haven't looked to see is the Crute and Dom.com. See if Tom kept that active. Finding out. It only works one way. It's a one-way street, Tom.
DomandCrute.com.
That works, but CruteandDom.com apparently does not.
Thank you, Tom.
DRNWI.com. That still works.
844-967-2789.
While we're talking about websites, Dom, I have some tremendous breaking news for you and the entire audience. I can steal Donald Trump's thunder. I know who he has selected as his vice presidential choice.
And how do you know?
Know?
Yeah, I want to know. I want to know how you know. Why do you think you, Crute, have all the answers and can read Donald Trump's mind?
Well, I don't have to read his mind. I just have to follow a URL link to the website. It's already up. It's already functional. Trump and his vice president's name run together. It's already up and functioning, Dom. And I said I reversed engineered this. I also verified there are a number of candidates that ran in the primary and people that have been bantered as possible VP picks for Trump. Only one path works, and it takes you to the Trump official campaign website. So someone from Trump has gone out there, purchased and routed Trump Burgum. Doug Burgum. Who's Doug Burgum? He's the governor of North Dakota with the bushy eyebrows. He looks like one of the old Muppet guy up in the balcony. That, I think, has been the selection of Donald Trump. Because if you do Trump DeSantis, doesn't work. Trump Haley doesn't work. Trump Scott doesn't work. I did several of these. And the only one that works, Trump Burgum. And it leads you to a Donald Trump, the campaign website. It's already been routed by the Trump campaign to the Trump website. And where did I get that tip? From righty, whitey talk radio host Dan O'Donnell.
Oh.
But it has credibility in that I did my own investigation and found it to be credible. So I think Trump's picked a pick that will excite no one. No one. I mean, if this is his pick, and I've seen Doug Burgum out there surrogating for this guy, to what end? I'm pretty sure you would have won the, 3 electoral votes from the state of North Dakota. 3, because you got 2 U.S. senators and 1 congressman, my understanding. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but no more than 3 or 4 electoral votes coming out of North Dakota. It's a pretty damn red state. So it's not like you needed the push to get those 3 electoral votes. And, you know, he could have chosen someone that would help him win a swing state, perhaps. I mean, hell, someone put it out there. God, tell me it's not Scott Walker. Well, at least that would be a more logical decision. Scott Walker might bring, you know, some percentage of the Wisconsin vote. And this is an important swing state. And Trump won it once and lost it once. Well, you know, adding a Scott Walker to the ticket surely makes more sense than adding North Dakota's governor to the ticket.
Well, I mean,
you don't need the
if I may, I mean, there's one other thing that maybe you're not considering. Burgum's rich, bitch. Like Forbes saying he's over $100 million. So Scott Walker, less than $100 million. You know what I mean?
Scott Walker's net worth when he was running for president 8 years ago was less than $1, Dom. Negative $73,500 on his FEC disclosure. To my understanding, the only net negative worth candidate to ever run for the presidency, Dom. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I thought I had read that statistic. So you think his appeal? So he's picking his VP the same way that RFK Jr. did, based on dollar signs?
Let's see. As of here's another one. The business 2 community. This is saying, I don't know the site. 1.1 billion. They're saying Burgum's worth. So I'm seeing any numbers from 100 million to well over 100 million to $1 billion. So let's just say he's rich, and you know, then you don't have to worry about necessarily, you know, relying on the donors. You're already that rich. You already got the rich friends. You know, yeah, man. I mean, would you rather have that, or would you rather have someone in a swing state that, you know, has to fundraise get their own 50 million?
Well, here's the deal, Dom. The only reason you pick a guy like Doug Burgum is so he doesn't outshine the top of the ticket. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's why I have you as a radio host, Rudy.
You don't want a Nikki Haley. You don't want someone that could steal a little bit of the old man's thunder. So you got to go out and find the most vanilla oatmeal candidate you possibly can.
And rich.
Mike Pence is not going to run with you this time. And I think Doug Burgum is that
guy. He might hang with him, but he's not going to run with him.
I see what you did there. Come back. We are the Devil's Advocates. You can always be a part. Doug Burgum, Donald Trump's VP pick. You heard it here first. 844-967-2789. I can tell you're all enthused. Everyone's like, wow, Doug Burgum. I got to Google that guy and figure out who the hell he is.
That was wonderful.
Bravo.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, it was great.
Every business seeks an advantage, whether it's having the best location, hiring top talent, or spotting trends before they happen. And now, the United States Postal Service can give your business a new advantage. Introducing USPS Ground Advantage. Reliable and affordable 2 to 5 day package shipping. It's the advantage you need at the price you want. Get the Ground Advantage at USPS.com/advantage. The United States Postal Service, delivering for America.
Do you like Delta 8? It'd be cooler if you did. We proudly announce the Devil's Advocates have partnered with Herbal Aspect to bring your newest Delta 8 favorites, Devil's Gummies, exclusively at herbalaspect.com. Legal for consumption by adults, they may be mailed directly to your home. Always use Devil Radio at checkout to let Herbal Aspect know where you heard them. Order today for delivery. Devil's Gummies and Devil Radio exclusive specials only from herbalaspect.com. Code Devil Radio. For the Love of Democracy Tour, sponsored by Chance Design Build, announces the greatest political party ever. Join the Devil's Advocates at the Barrymore Theater, Madison, Thursday, June 27th for a pre-presidential debate panel discussion featuring attorney Meg Dunn and the Devil's Advocates at 7 p.m. Biden versus Trump, the most important presidential debate of your lifetime, to follow at 8 p.m. Admission is free. You're welcome, but bring cash for the bar and donations will be accepted at the door. It is one of the
most important business decisions you will make, selling your commercial building. It should involve making a plan to maximize your sale price through effective and responsive marketing. Your plan should also include a clear understanding of tax consequences. You need the professionals at Altus Commercial Real Estate to guide your success. Experience and responsive professionals make all the difference. Make your plan to sell. Call Altus Commercial Real Estate today at 608-338-1101.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. We are your fix. You can join us on the lines for your fix. 844-967-2789.
Perhaps a bigger announcement, more breaking news. Lynn, our pal from Oconomowoc, tells us Bernie Sanders coming to Wisconsin Wednesday, June 26th for a 6 p.m. event in Mount Pleasant. Maybe he's coming to help the Recall Robin efforts.
Recall Robin Vaz.
Bernie Sanders, the most popular politician in America. I said that once. I was PolitiFacted, mostly true, because somewhere out there was a singular poll that had Barack Obama up like 1 point on Bernie. But I stand by my words, PolitiFact. 844-967-2789. Dom, also checking the text line, but nothing notable for the moment. We have a little new information. My understanding about the debate. Oh, well, Jeff did have a message worthy of note. He's got a conspiracy theory. Plot twist. Trump forces, well, he calls him Burger, to buy the website only to dump him in Milwaukee. He's going to get ghosted on the stage. He's just leaving Burgum out in the Deer District. He's just going to wander the streets like Milverine does, right? I forget where I put it, Don, but I did have some noteworthy information about Donald Trump getting the last word at the presidential debate. Apparently they've made some determinations, Dom, and Trump gets the last word. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Actually, Biden won the coin toss. Do you want the last word, or do you let the other guy go last?
I don't think it matters. I really don't know. I mean, how many independent, how many minds are going to change? You know, I don't think it'll matter. If if Joe Biden performs well and is on his game, is sharp and articulate and forceful and empathetic, because that's, those are his superpowers. He's empathetic. You can't listen to a guy like Joe. No, I really mean it. I mean it. That's how Joe is. But there's not gonna be a crowd there to be wooed necessarily, right? There's no crowd. It's just Trump on the stage with Joe Biden and the moderators. So I don't think it'll really have an impact one way or the other who actually wraps up the actual debate.
We'll be the 12th man at the Barrymore Theater. We'll be so loud Joe can hear us all the way from Madison. A few of the details as political reporting, Dom. President Joe Biden will deliver his closing statement first in the upcoming presidential debate, giving former President Donald Trump the last word. And apparently, Biden won the coin flip and deferred to the second half. No, chose to go first in his closing statements. As it's being reported here by Politico. The president selected the right podium, positioning himself on the right of viewers' television screens. Trump will be on the left. There's a little irony for you, Dom. Leaving his Republican rival to opt to go second during closing statements at the end of the 90-minute broadcast. Here's what you get. Each candidate's lectern is supplied with one pen, a pad of paper, and a water bottle, while pre-written notes and props will not be permitted or will be prohibited, according to the rules agreed upon by both campaigns last week.
Oh, so no Melania.
The podium positions will be identical to the candidates' placements during the 2020 debates, but this will be the first of their matchups in which Trump delivers the final statement, though he interrupted interrupted Biden's closing remarks during their September 2020.
Will you shut up, man?
And beyond podium placement and details about closing remarks, several rules announced over the weekend appear designed to prevent a repeat of that hostile first meeting. Candidates will not deliver opening statements. No opening statements, just right into the debate, Dom. CNN's Jake Tapper and Dana Bash will moderate, and they will have 2 minutes each for answers. The candidates will, not the moderators, I suspect. 1 minute for rebuttals and 1 minute for responses to rebuttals. So like 4 minutes question-ish. Will there be cross-examination and fact-checking going on, Dom?
I strenuously object, Your Honor.
I strongly object. In addition, no audience will be present, a demand of President Biden, which deprives Trump of an environment that has previously allowed him to inflate his presence. Also, Dom, we've talked about this. CNN will mute microphones to avoid interruptions between turns. I wish they did that here and place 2 commercial breaks in the 90-minute broadcast. The network also strictly enforced its rules for qualifying for the stage, which Robert F. Kennedy Jr., an independent candidate, failed to reach.
What did you say, 2 commercial breaks?
2 commercial breaks in 90
Do we know the
minutes.
length of the commercial breaks?
That wasn't specifically
Okay.
enumerated here.
All right. Long
Like
enough
wondering
for
if there's
Joe to
time
sit
to-
down and get a foot rub, I guess.
You know, we had a 2-minute break before I ran to the bathroom and made it back. And Rich even commented, you can pee quickly if you need to. And I did.
Good job,
Important
Mike.
stuff. Yeah, I'm very proud of myself.
Did you wash your hands?
I did
No, I
wash
didn't
my
have
hands.
time.
Well, I wanted to get back on the air for you, fine
Don't touch
audience.
the mic, man.
I did wash my hands, but here is an admission I'll make. Luckily, this is an audio-only product because I have not showered today and I've been working hard. I might be a little stanky.
All right, sorry about
Time
that,
for
Rick.
a happy hour, Dom. That's what it
Yeah.
is. They'll let you in the bar a little stanky, won't they? All the places you would go to.
All the best places, they always do. Bring your boots, bring your money, bring your cash.
A happier hour and a 5 o'clock debate. Should women be drafted? And your phone calls, 844-967-2789.
WMDX, Madison's home for Matt Nair on air.
Jane Matt Nair and Greg Bach.
Coming up on the show, we prepare for the weekend with Take Your Dog to Work Day. Maggie Tate Techman, the executive director of Hawes, joins us. Don't miss it.
Matt Nair on air. Weekday mornings at 11.
Hey, Darcy, I just saw the perfect house. Can you help me write an offer on it?
I'd be happy to, Brian. Did you see it at an open house?
No, I just called the sign, had the agent show it to me. I didn't want to bug you.
Right. How many times have you heard me say don't call the sign?
All of them?
You called the agent working for the seller, and once you see the property with that agent, I'm no longer free to write an offer on it. You need to hire us from the beginning, help you find the right home, negotiate on your behalf, and protect your interests all the way through the process, and it shouldn't cost you a dime.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, and they're honest. Find them at solidarityrealty.com.
You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram. You're listening to Mad Radio, WMDX 1580 AM Columbus, W224EG Madison, and always streaming on the Civic Media app.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The White House rejecting claims by Israel's prime minister that the U.S. is withholding weapons, saying the U.S. is doing more than any other country to help Israel defend against Hamas and threats in the region. ABC's Tom Sufi-Burridge is in Tel Aviv.
Netanyahu now saying, I am ready to suffer personal attacks, provided that Israel receives from the U.S. the ammunition it needs in the war for its existence. This is his argument. He's saying Israel is in this existential fight, but that comment is typical. Netanyahu is a combative politician, but his critics in Israel say right now, this spat with the U.S. is against Israel's strategic interests.
Biden officials announcing Ukraine is at the top of the list now for deliveries to defend against Russian attacks, but says those changes will not impact deliveries to Taiwan or Israel. States from the Midwest to the East Coast locked in a heat wave this week as temperatures in the 90s feel more like triple digits, even in parts of New England not used to excessive heat. They're opening cooling centers there. This is ABC News.
This news report is sponsored by Wisconsin Capital Management, LLC, serving their clients for 40 years. Visit wiscap.com.
Civic Media News. I'm Terry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. Former UW La Crosse Chancellor Joe Gao says making online porn is no reason for him to lose his tenured faculty post.
Yes, my wife Carmen Wilson and I created a series of sexually explicit videos and books. We did so on our own time using our own money.
A disciplinary hearing for Gao wrapped up Thursday morning. Interim Chancellor Betsy Morgan says she's lost trust in him. Even with high prices, Wisconsin is reporting a record number of home sales so far this fiscal year. Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Authority reports 2,700 single-family home sales so far this fiscal year. That's more than twice as many in all of fiscal 2023. I'm Terry Bell, Civic Media News. Now, here's what you need to know closer to home.
This is news from WMDX Madison. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. An update to a story we've been following today. One person was found dead in that Mazzolini house fire. The home is on County Highway Y. Neighbors called 911 around 6:30 this morning when power went out in the neighborhood and they discovered the fire. And there may soon be another tiny house village in Madison. A parcel of land on South Stoughton Road on the east side has been rezoned to allow Occupy Madison to build its next plot for unhoused people. They stay on the property in temporary shelters while they help build the permanent tiny homes. Barry Elbert has volunteered for the group for the last few years.
We need to provide opportunities for people to live in housing situations that might not look like a single-family home or a rental apartment. And I've been inspired by what Occupy Madison has been able to do.
Occupy Madison staff expect the first new residents to move in next summer. And that's what you need to know. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. This is WMDX News.
And then there were two. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The Packers training camp doesn't begin for another 4 weeks, but the team has already released one of their kickers, Jack Polensny out of Georgia. That leaves former Vikings kicker Greg Joseph and Anders Carlson, who replaced Mason Crosby.
Yeah, I mean, it is business like usual. I mean, when I got here, there was another kicker here. I know a lot of people forget that, but the mindset doesn't change. Whether there's 0 guys or 10 guys here, I think kicking's unique because you can focus on yourself. You don't have to pass it to anyone else. It's you and the field goal post. It's really about focusing on yourself, and that's the mindset right now.
Baseball, the Brewers take on the Padres tonight in San Diego. Last night, the Crew beat the A's in Anaheim 2-0. This time, Freddie Peralta looked sharp, striking out 8 over 6 scoreless innings.
Everything was a little clearer for me because that you just said, mindset, I work on that in the last 4 or 5 days, do whatever I need to do.
That's the Brewers ace, Freddie Peralta. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Tonight and Friday, cloudy with scattered showers and thunderstorms. Warm low tonight in the low 60s. Warmer with more humidity Friday, a high into the mid-80s. And mid-80s again Saturday with scattered showers and storms. Sunshine returns and a beautiful Sunday, high low 80s. Currently at 75 degrees.
Do you like Delta 8? It'd be cooler if you did. We proudly announce the Devil's Advocates have partnered with Herbal Aspect to bring your newest Delta 8 favorites, Devil's Gummies, exclusively at herbalaspect.com. Legal for consumption by adults, they may be mailed directly to your home. Always use Devil Radio at checkout to let Herbal Aspect know where you heard them. Order today for delivery. Devil's Gummies and Devil Radio exclusive specials only from herbalaspect.com, code Devil Radio.
Wisconsin Capital Management in Madison is a registered investment advisory firm and has been serving their clients for the past 40 years. The firm is focused on providing investment advisory services to its affiliated mutual funds. Their approach to investment management is designed to provide competitive performance over the entire business cycle. Their clients rely on them to manage their assets through the fluctuations of market cycles, and they strive to outperform over the long term. For information, visit wiscap.com.
T. Schwaba.
On the next Nightlight, I welcome Tim Sowers from the Overture Center for the Arts in Madison. I'm also joined by Mary Rose Eckberg from Make Music Madison.
Nightlight The Devil's Advocates radio show is broadcast under a time brokerage agreement between Devil Radio and Civic Media Inc. Some portions of this program may be pre-recorded. Warning, you're about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the Civic Media Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
And now, here's your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, the Thursday edition, a happier happy hour. Dom, I'm trying to steal Donald Trump's thunder with credible conspiracies about who his vice presidential pick will be. It's Doug Burgum. And why do I know it's Doug Burgum? Because
why do you know that?
If you put in the Trump Burgum names.com,
yeah,
it takes you back to the Donald Trump website. If you take any of the other opponents, think Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, you try replicating, doing the same thing, just in case they're keeping their options open, just putting all the URLs in place just in case. That's not what they're doing. They only picked one. Trump Burgum. TrumpBurgum.com will take you to Donald Trump's website.
There is some reporting on this from the USA Today, Zach Anderson. The intrigue surrounding who Trump will pick as his running mate grew Thursday after political observers noticed that a website combining North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum's name with Trump's redirects to the former president's campaign website. Of course, he's on the short list. To add speculation that Burgum could be Trump's VP pick grew when it was discovered that TrumpBurgum.com redirects to DonaldJTrump.com, the official Trump campaign website. Newsweek first reported on the discovery on Twitter, the platform, X, whatever. Trump spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt said the TrumpBurgum.com campaign was not created by the campaign. This has nothing to do with our campaign, Leavitt says. The site appears to have been purchased in September of 23 when Burgum was still running against Trump in the 24 Republican primary. Any internet user could have purchased the domain, not necessarily someone associated with Trump or Burgum, but it's directed.
How does it end up directed to the Donald J. Trump website? You can't just, I can't just point, Crute.com at Walmart's website.
But isn't exactly what Tom did? DomandCrute.com and directs to the darnweed.com. Right?
Damn it. Tom, What have you done to us?
So, maybe, but
maybe if it was CruteandDom.com, I'd go along with it.
Trump has said he's threatening to let us know who his VP pick is when he comes to Milwaukee in July.
I've got a few of the texters I'd like to acknowledge. You can use the same number, 844-967-2789. It's a phone number. It's a text number. Dom and Crute. Crute and Dom, technically. Nazis and Proud Boys will not make trouble in Milwaukee, but will stand back and stand by, waiting on orders from their commander-in-chief, Private Bone Spurs. Things could get ugly after the election if DJT is elected or if he loses. Stay frosty, America. And here is what's interesting about this little missive. Trump's VP choice, the North Dakota guy with the Betty Davis eyes and the Andy Rooney eyebrows. Can't remember his name. Well, it's Doug Burgum, the next vice president of the United States, if you believe the online chatter that we're speculating on. What about this idea? Trump does a John McCain, Sarah Palin, and picks Dan O'Donnell to help carry Wisconsin.
Go for it, baby.
That's what Steady Eddie had to say. Anyways, there are many texts there. I'll share a few more as we go. That was a longer one. Want to keep it moving down with a debate for this hour. Senate Democrats have added language to the annual defense authorization bill to require women to register for the draft. Good thing, bad thing, Dom. What do you think?
Yeah, of course. Why not?
Well, it has prompted a backlash from Republicans and social conservatives and complicates the chances of moving the bill on the Senate floor before Election Day. Women are weak, is what your conservative friends want you to know, Dom.
Is that what it is?
They're to be
They don't
treated
belong.
differently.
They don't belong in the armed forces. They belong, what, barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen?
Conservatives, led by Senator Roger Wicker, Republican from Mississippi, Mississippi, are certain to attempt to remove the provision requiring women to register for the draft, which could present a tough vote for Senators John Tester and Jackie Rosen. They're Dems and, in tight re-election races, let's just say. And Republican candidate Sam Brown, who's running against Rosen, is already making it an issue in the Nevada Senate race. Brown, an Army veteran who was severely burned by an improvised explosive device explosion, slammed Rosen in a video for voting to require women to sign up for the draft. Look at my face. This is the high cost of war, he said recently on the social platform X. Amy and I volunteered to serve, and we honor all who serve, he wrote, referencing his wife. But forcing America's daughters to register for the draft is unacceptable. Shame on Jackie Rosen. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. You got a daughter. I got a daughter. Should they not go through these same requirements as you have a son, I have a son? A couple of them. Shouldn't they all have to register? I mean, I had to register, you had to register, but your sister probably didn't once upon a time.
No, right. Of course. No, I think if that's how we're going to do it, everybody should register. And I'm not clear. I understand the dude says, well, this is forcing America's daughters to register for the draft. It's unacceptable. Oh, okay, why? Explain to me why it's unacceptable. I pretend like, talk to me like I don't know. Talk to me like I'm a child. Why is that unacceptable?
Have you seen his face?
Yeah, man. War is hell. Okay, maybe we should not get into wars then, especially wars of convenience and wars over oil. Maybe we shouldn't do that. And there is a cost to it all. And why exactly, sir, should America's daughters not be a part of that? I still haven't seen. I've seen the articles. I see. Look at my face. You'll be hearing more from me. Okay, but what is the reason? Because you value women so much? Is that what you're? Let's just go there. Let's just say, oh, we value our women so much. Oh, really? Is that how you? Is that what you do? Is that what you're showing? That women, they can't have abortions when they need them, want them, none of your business, sir? You value the women?
844-967-2789 would like to hear from the audience. And I mean on the phone lines, although I read your text, probably does not. Now, Senator Josh Hawley, the fist pumping to the insurrectionist.
Oh, no, I don't remember him fist pumping so much as his arms running as he was running away from his supporters.
Well, that was a little bit later.
Oh, that was later.
When they actually were in the Capitol building, Dom.
Yeah. The Hang Mike Pence Day. I remember that day.
That courageous guy, Senator Josh Hawley, Republican from Missouri, called the provision requiring women to sign up for the draft insane.
Insane, I tell you.
The Biden administration of trying to implement a woke agenda at the Pentagon.
Wait, what?
A woke agenda at the Pentagon. There shouldn't be women in the draft.
Why?
They shouldn't be forced to serve if they don't want to.
Why?
But men should? Like who? He criticized Democrats for wanting to experiment with the military, saying normal people are like, leave our daughters alone. Normal people. Hawley led.
Yeah, but take our sons for cannon fodder when Donald Trump gets mad at his North Korean lover for some reason. That's totally fine. That's fine. Let's do that. But leave our daughters alone.
Dom, Hawley led efforts to strip language requiring women to sign up for the draft from the Defense Authorization Bill in 2021 and 2022, and a group affiliated with former VP Mike Pence also weighed in on the issue yesterday. The group, Advancing American Freedom, wrote a letter to Senate Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell and Speaker Mike Johnson, declaring, and here's their declaration, Dom, The notion of the United States of America requiring women to register to fight our wars is simply untenable and must be opposed at all costs. Now, Wicker, the top-ranking Republican on the Senate Armed Services Committee, said he'll try to strip it out of the bill. I'm opposed to that. I don't think this is the time to get into a debate on the floor of either the House about that. We're not anywhere near implementing a draft, and to me, it's a distraction when we need to be talking about the real issues that are immediate. I hope it will fall out either on the floor or in conference, he added.
Crute, Senate Armed Services Committee Chair Jack Reed, a Democrat from Rhode Island, defended the proposed policy change, arguing that women can hold many warfighting positions without serving as frontline infantry troops. Quote, women are doing a remarkable job in our forces today. And if we were in a situation requiring a draft, I think we would need all able-bodied citizens 18 and above. If we go to a draft, that means we're in a serious situation. It's not like World War II where we need lots of infantry. We need cyber experts. We need intelligence analysts, linguistics, etc. Wait a second. There are a lot of women out there that can do this better than men, he said. He said the intense GOP opposition to the proposal just doesn't make any sense. Senate aides point out the issue cuts across party lines, with some Republicans generally supportive of requiring women to sign up for the selective service system, just like men when they turn 18. Senate Republicans are already raising doubts about whether the Schumer will even bring the bill to the floor anytime soon, given the dwindling number of days in the legislative calendar before the election. Wicker said, I do hope we get to the floor. It's very important we have this debate publicly. I hear rumblings that the Democratic leader may not bring it to the floor. I hope that can be reversed. McConnell on Monday urged Schumer to bring the defense bill to the floor without delay. Republicans, this is unacceptable. It's insane. It's untenable. But they haven't really articulated specifically why is it untenable? Why is it insane? Why is it unacceptable? Because they have vaginas? I'm just curious.
844-967-2789. I think the implication, Dom, is they're the weaker sex to be protected from these horrors and manual labor, apparently, and serving their country. You know, that's men's work that you didn't choose to do. Unpatriotic bastard. 844-967.
What? You signed up for what? Iraq? Because you were mad that the war was going on? What are you talking about? You're going to rip on me?
Susan, you're first. If you're patient, we'll be right back.
MDX, Madison's home for Nightlight with Pete Schwab.
Seems like summer has just begun, but now is the time to plan for snow removal. Call Go Landscaping today to bid for fall. The Scots got lucky last winter. It won't be El Nino mild every year. Call Go Landscaping now and secure a bid for next winter's snow removal from the dependable professionals at Go Landscaping. 608-807-9249. For the Love of Democracy Tour, sponsored by Chad's Design Build, announces the greatest political party ever. Join the Devil's Advocates at the Barrymore Theater, Madison, Thursday, June 27th for a pre-presidential debate panel discussion featuring attorney Maggie Dawn and the Devil's Advocates at 7 p.m. Biden versus Trump, the most important presidential debate of your lifetime, to follow at 8 p.m. Admission is free. You're welcome, but bring cash for the bar and donations will be accepted at the door.
This is Chad Spade for Chad's Design Build. We're proud to employ some of the best carpenters and remodeling professionals in our industry. Are you honest and hardworking? Do you love to improve people's lives by improving their homes? Chad's Design Build offers excellent compensation and benefits focused on outstanding customer service, professional design, construction management, and craftsmanship, all in a nurturing, positive workplace. Whether you're thinking about remodeling your home or considering joining our team, go to chadsdesignbuild.com to learn more.
Hi, I'm Mike Crute, and I've signed my share of commercial real estate leases. In Madison, I highly recommend Jeff Jansen from Altus Commercial Real Estate. Jeff guided me to my first radio station location on the west side. He helped us move to University Ave, and eventually Jeff set up the lease on the Civic Media World headquarters. No one works harder to provide options in commercial leasing. Call Jeff Jansen and his team at Altus Commercial Real Estate at 608-338-1101.
You're listening to the radio show your mother warned you about, The Devil's Advocates.
Yeah, thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Love it when you join the political party question of the day. Should women have to be forced to sign up for the selective service for the draft if it were to be called when they turn 18 like the men do? Apparently, lots of Republicans are against that. It's unacceptable. It's insane. It's untenable. What is your thought? 844-967-2789.
I have some thoughts, but let's take Susan's first. As promised, Susan, appreciate your patience. Calling in from Dunn. Welcome. What do you got for us?
Hi, Susan.
Oh, I'm a very patient woman. Actually, I think they should be sign up for the draft. I think it should be equal opportunity. So if there is going to be a draft, then everybody should have to sign up for it. Across the board. But actually, my whole idea would be just to have everyone have to sign up to do service of some sort for 2 years after they get out of high school, which I think would help a lot of people get their head around what they want to do for the rest of, for part of their life. So that's my whole idea.
Now, what if Republicans would exempt you from service if you just go home and have a baby, Susan?
Well, if you go home and have a baby, obviously you can't go you would have to have it deferred, but you could add it on after that then. I guess what I'm saying is that, why should there are young men who are in the back end of the day were drafted. They had young children at home and they ended up dying. So, I guess I look at it as though, we're all in this together. So it should be an equal opportunity thing for everybody. So if we're going to have a draft, which I actually am a really strong proponent of that, because I don't think the volunteer army works as well from the feedback I've gotten from members of my family who are in the volunteer army.
Well, come on. No. I'm going to disagree with your far-flung family member, Susan, because I was in the all-volunteer army, yeah. And I can tell you this.
Mm-hmm.
When you sign up for something, you are probably better at the job than when you're compelled to do something, let's say drafted.
Well, but you're still in it. You're still in it. You still have to do it regardless. And they've changed.
Yeah, but attitudes are different when you're compelled. You might have to break a rock on a chain gang, but I do my work with a little more gusto and enthusiasm because it's not compelled of me. Okay. Only Dom is compelled to do this job.
Susan, I'm curious though. Your thought of mandatory service after high school for 2 years.
Yes.
What would be the reasoning for that? Why do you think that's something that would be helpful? What's the point?
The point is to be able to learn to give of yourself to others. And I think today in a lot of situations, the young people, because I hang out a lot with 18 to 22-year-old people. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of them are in flux. They don't have a direction. And the other thing is just to have something that they actually have to do. And they could get paid for it. I think, it'd be just like being in the military. You get paid for it for signing up for 2 years. And they could, during that time, there are a lot of things that people could learn to do, for example, in the trades. All that could be, it doesn't have to be, it has to be a service of some sort, but also it could incorporate education as well. So I think it could be a really great way to get more young people, involved in their exterior community, because everybody's on their social media. So they aren't looking at each other when they're out and about. They're looking at their social media for the most part.
Well, that's not a good enough reason to compel public service, but I do appreciate your thought, and I do appreciate you listening, of course, and contributing at 844-967-2789. Now, Dom, you would never join anything. You're not a joiner. I'm not calling you a selfish bastard, but, if I could read between the lines, I might be alluding to that. But you're certainly not going to be a guy that goes and joins the AmeriCorps and gives 2 years, takes a gap 2 years after college. that wasn't your cup of tea. You were
No,
to grad school
certainly
and
not. And that's
business.
why, and I appreciate Susan's point. I know other countries do similar kinds of things, and I get that. I think if you're forced into volunteerism, it's really, I think it goes against it. It's not volunteering if you're forced into it. It's not really service if you're forced into it. It's a job. It's an obligation. That's not service. That's a do this or what are the consequences? I don't want to do that. I'm 18 years old. I don't want to do that. You do that. You want to do that? You do that. And the other thing is and we're talking about having the potential of Donald Trump being the president again. We have a lot of military actions, but not a whole lot of wars. But it seems like we're always dropping bombs or something's happening somewhere. And I'm not clear that I want to be subject to the whims of a guy like Donald Trump. Say, oh, you know what? We got a hell of a thing going on here. We're gonna start the draft. No, thank you, man. Political wars are not something that we need to draft people for.
No, thank you. How many people do you think wanted to say no, thank you to the draft throughout the course of our nation's history? No, thank you is not an answer, man.
Well, yeah, it is, man.
Buddy.
Would you have gone to Vietnam? And you think Vietnam was worthy? That was a worthy war that we should have done that?
You don't get to choose, dude.
No, you do get to choose. People protested. They decided we're not going to do that anymore because these are wars of choice. These are political wars. It's not like the Viet Cong was walking up Brady Street shooting people, man. These are purposeful. It was extended for political reasons. Man, these are the exact things why we don't want to get involved in those kinds of issues.
Move to Canada.
And if you want to do that, you want to volunteer to do that for a guy like Donald Trump or for a guy like Nixon, then knock yourself out. But I don't think that those are the kinds of conflicts that are certainly going to determine the course of American history, man. No.
Guess what? Soldiers on the street or new enlistees through compelled draft don't get to make decisions about whether you're getting sent to Southeast Asia or to the Western Pacific or to the European theater, dude.
I got that. I think
you
World
don't
War
think
II.
they're isolationists all the way back to World War II that wanted to sit this one out?
Certainly. And I think that we haven't had a justified reason since World War II.
Well, I'm glad you think those soldiers were justified in their deaths, but the others compelled in Vietnam or Korea, they're not justified in their deaths.
I don't know what that means, justified in their deaths. I don't think their lives.
It wasn't a legitimate, justifiable
war. Was it a political war, Crute? Yes or no? You want your kids dying in a political war because someone
decisions are made
decided?
by politicians. If there's going to be a draft, dude, you don't get to sit it out. Or if you do, you're sitting your ass in a jail cell.
What if there's a draft for an immoral war, Crute? Do you fight an immoral war?
If you're drafted,
then you do.
Up,
See,
and you can be a conscientious objector. You don't have to kill anybody, but you got to take your ass out in the field. That's the deal.
Yeah. Donald Trump, Commander-in-Chief. Good luck with that.
This report is brought to you by Freedom Fireworks, with 18 locations throughout southeastern Wisconsin. Go to freedomfireworkswi.com.
Civic Media News. I'm Terry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. The man who injured dozens of people in a 2022 boating crash in Oshkosh is convicted of 14 crimes, including 2 felonies. Jason Lindeman crashed his powerboat into the side of a paddle wheel boat full of people on the Fox River, then drove away. Lindeman had been drinking. He'll be sentenced in August. Some researchers want the government to rethink subsidies to large farms to turn waste into fuel. Chris Hunt is a researcher for the Socially Responsible Agriculture Project. He calls biogas a greenwash.
Greenhouse gas emissions aren't the only problems with factory farms. As someone who's been working on this issue for 20 years, it's actually one of the problems with factory farms that concerns me the least.
Supporters say biogas production can be responsibly regulated. I'm Terry Bell, Civic Media News. Here's what you need to know closer to home.
This is news from WMDX Madison. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. Thermo Fisher Scientific is adding 350 jobs. The company just completed a $58 million lab project, their 5th site in Middleton. This one is out by the Middleton Airport. Thermo Fisher does research and development for the biomedical and biopharmaceutical industries. They're getting about about $2.2 million in tax credits in 2026 from the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. Governor Tony Evers says Wisconsin's biohealth industry is growing, and that brings great jobs to the state. And more changes to the face of Madison's downtown. The Essen House will be demolished. The plan passed at a common council meeting that went past 2 a.m. into yesterday morning. This is part of the redevelopment plan for the Essen House block on East Wilson and Blair Streets. The project will include a new apartment building and 100-room hotel. They'll rebuild the facades of the Comeback Inn and JB Drives and include that in the hotel. And that's what you need to know. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. This is WMDX News.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Steve Martin says he doesn't like being in comedy clubs anymore because they remind him of his old stand-up days when he was starting out. Martin says when he walks into comedy clubs now, he can still taste the cheap wine in his mouth. Martin sat down with Oscar-winning documentarian Morgan Neville in L.A. to discuss his documentary Steve, a documentary in 2 parts. The first part of the documentary covers Martin's days working at Disneyland and doing stand-up comedy. The second part covers his film career. It's really insightful and a great watch. Netflix is about to become more than virtual. The streaming service is looking to open up 2 entertainment complexes. Variety says they are being called Netflix Houses, and they will be located in Pennsylvania in a town called King of Prussia, please change that name, and Dallas, Texas. Netflix Houses will try to enhance the overall Netflix experience for consumers with pop-up live experiences of shows like Stranger Things and Squid Game. In a related story, Netflix is raising their monthly fee to $4,000. For more showbiz fun, tune into Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 7 to 9 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Tonight and Friday, cloudy with scattered showers and thunderstorms. Warm low tonight in the low 60s. Warmer with more humidity Friday, a high into the mid-80s. And mid-80s again Saturday with scattered showers and storms. Sunshine returns and a beautiful Sunday, high low 80s. Currently at 77.
It's that time of year again. The 4th of July is right around the corner, and Freedom Fireworks has everything your family needs for a safe and exciting holiday celebration. With 18 southeastern Wisconsin locations fully stocked up with everything from sparklers to artillery shells, thunder snaps to 500-gram aerials, Freedom Fireworks guarantees to bring smiles and cheers to every backyard celebration. For fireworks from all the top brands and specials that can't be beat, go to freedomfireworkswi.com for a location near you. Freedom Fireworks wishes you a safe and happy 4th of July.
Is doing it yourself not working out? Don't need the whole building for your business anymore? Call Alta's Commercial Real Estate. They'll help you find quality tenants to fill your vacancies. They market, they show, they negotiate the terms. They do all the legwork and keep you informed. Call Alta's Commercial Real Estate at 608-338-1101. 608-338-1101.
Hey everybody, join us next time as our old friend Peter Rapine of eFarms World stops by with a lighter look at the week in review. Do not miss it.
The Todd Albaugh Show.
Occupy didn't start on Wall Street. It started on our street, the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, the Friday. No, it's not Friday. I'd be happier if it were. It's a Thursday happy hour.
Nice wishing, man.
My mind, you've got me a little fired up, man. This debate topic, and if you'd like to join us, 844-967-2789. First, it started with whether or not women should have to register for the draft, as men are now forced to do. And there is some legislation being put on the floor, and Republicans object to women being compelled. So if you have an opinion there, we'd love to hear from you. 844-967-2789. But Dom takes it one step further. Dom, as a male who did have to sign up for selective service, you got some federal student funds in college at some point, I suspect, few bucks. So you signed up for selective service. But if you'd gotten drafted and you decided that's not justifiable or a moral war, in your opinion, you would have sat that one out?
I'm,
Just gone to
it's
Canada?
It's hard to say. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I haven't been presented with that, but certainly those that decided not to engage in an immoral and unjustified war. Yeah, I mean, if they don't want to do it, there's certainly prices to pay when that happens, if that happens. But that was done. That's a historic fact. Look at the activities in Vietnam. No, I don't think the kids should be forced to, get drafted to go be cannon fodder to take over Hill number 5 when you got, politicians directing attacks from Washington.
You always do. You got a president who is a politician who is the commander-in-chief of the military. So all wars back to Washington and the Revolutionary War were political in nature. We fight wars over politics. So, yes, some politician ultimately is directing the war.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I would think the defeat of fascism in Europe and the stopping the spread of fascism in Europe and across the world, I see that as more of a threat to humanity than whether or not, the oil flows out of Kuwait versus Iraq. You know what I mean? I think those are different things. One is protecting supply lines, and one is just determining where humanity is going to go. How's it going to be? Is it the freedom of the individual or the fascist beating down?
50 years or 20 years in the rearview mirror. Do you think real time before?
Yes, real time right now. If you don't take that history and that knowledge and apply it to the present, what good is the knowledge, dude? Yeah, you take those things into account. That's why we don't have a draft anymore, man. Because people recognize that.
We don't have a draft anymore. We most certainly are prepared to have a draft should we find ourselves in a position, regardless of who the U.S. president is, in a position where we've got a war where we need substantial manpower that the voluntary force is not able to provide, right?
Yeah, I get it, man.
Dude,
we don't have a draft.
Man, we don't have going on.
We have selective service. We got to sign up for it. We haven't had a draft since the Vietnam War, right? What? And they changed that. Why? Because of the political instances and the situation and the blowback and the pushback of the Vietnam War. Yes?
Changed what?
What do you mean,
did they change,
be selected
dude?
for
We
the
still
draft.
sign up for selective service.
So what? You can sign up for selective service. You're not forced to go. It's one thing to sign up at the post office, man. I'm signed up. So if there's a draft, then now my number might get pitched, right?
Yes,
that's different than actually being pulled out of your home, put on the bus, and sent to basic training. Those are two different things, yes?
Yes, well,
okay, so we're not compelled to do that anymore.
So we don't need a draft.
We're not compelled to do that anymore, right? Not since Vietnam, right? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is?
There are no wars to fight where we would need a draft. That seems logical, but where am I missing your logic?
I'm asking you, why do you think the draft stopped after Vietnam?
Peacetime draft, dude? What are you talking about?
Why do you think the draft stopped after Vietnam? Well, why do you think that is? Why do you think that's over?
We haven't had a conflict large enough that would demand the manpower, dude. Because I can tell you, back in 90, I joined under H.W. Bush, and even back then, Dom, I wasn't really down for Republican politics. But you know what I didn't say? Well, damn it, it's a Republican commander-in-chief. I'm not taking his orders. He must be unjustified. This is an unmoral decision. Because you know what? You don't get to make that decision as a grunt. You don't get to.
Yeah, I understand that. That's why I'm not fond of being a grunt.
Well, okay, fair enough. No one that got sent to Vietnam was very fond of being a grunt or cannon fodder either, Dom.
Well, some people signed up specifically to go do that. Some people are down.
Yeah, but I'm talking about those that we're talking about the draft.
When you got, hey man, when you got someone who got a DUI and now the threat is, you know what, your punishment will send you off to war. I mean, that's not. I don't think that's justified. I don't think that's right.
Who do you think's been fighting the wars for the history of this country? Poor people and working people. People that had few options. People who didn't have rich daddies to get them out of it. People who didn't have...
Yeah, right. Couldn't get the bone spur excuse. Yeah, I got it, man. I got it.
So you're telling me that you as an individual get to decide whether or not you are compelled into service during a time of a draft. Like you're the individual that you're above the compelled service of the draft.
Yeah, what I'm telling you is I will absolutely make up my own mind and my determination and suffer whatever consequences may be. I'll make that determination. Yes, that's exactly what I'm telling you.
I'll come see you at Leavenworth. 844-967.
Got to get me first, baby.
789. You ain't that fast. Melissa from Madison. Welcome to the party. What do you got for us?
Hey, Melissa.
Hi there. So the original question was, should women be signed up for the draft?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I correct on that?
That is correct.
Okay. So So my daughter and I were listening, and she made a wonderful comment that I thought I got to call in and say. I don't think women should have to sign up until we're treated equal. as
Yes.
men.
Thank you.
Pay. Yeah.
Well,
all that
there
stuff.
truly
until
would
we
be
get the rights back.
there would be a
Why
question.
would we want to do that?
Well, if you're like Dom, you just make those choices on your own. But let's assume there was compelled military service for females,
Yeah.
the draft, if you will. Well, pregnancy
Yeah.
can become a real thing. I mean, and
Yeah.
people do have sex in the military. I can tell you from my own personal experience. I had a girlfriend. So, Melissa, the question I would have is, and I think it absolutely is linked, and I think Republicans, if I understand, resent the fact that U.S. service members who are stationed in, let's call it a red state, since Roe v. Wade, and you're impregnated, and you cannot be pregnant, or your duty doesn't permit it, or you just choose not to have that baby. You know what? The U.S. military would fly you or send you to a state to have a legal abortion. Republicans, of course.
Really?
Yes. And Republicans.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, well, but Republicans
They're trying to
are
change that.
against that.
Yeah.
They don't want you to have the freedom, even as a military person. They don't want you to have that autonomy over whether or not you have a baby. And when you're in the military, literally, you belong to the U.S. government. They might as well stamp it on your ass. You are the property of the U.S. government. You go get a tattoo, you have damaged the U.S. government's property. I mean, that's the attitude they take. And I certainly would say from a woman's perspective, I think you and your daughter, and how old's your daughter, Melissa?
She's 23.
Well, sounds like a smart young lady.
Yes, she is. You met her.
Oh.
We've met before on Willie Street.
Awesome.
Willie Days last year. Yeah.
Cool. Melissa, thank you for hanging out with us.
Oh, did
today
Melissa
and
bring
joining-
cookies last year?
Did you bring cookies,
No,
Melissa?
I did not bring the cookies. It was
Okay.
not me.
You
But
could
I'll
bring cookies tomorrow, Melissa. I'm sure we'll be hungry for cookies again.
Okay.
Say hi to your daughter for us. Thank you for
Yeah,
contributing.
thank you for that. I think that's a great point, and you know, define what equal is, but whatever it is, it ain't it right now. That's for sure.
Well, I don't know how you could compel a woman's service in the military, but not give her the right over her own body. Understanding
if you're the property of
sometimes
Uncle
women
Sam,
are raped in the military too.
could Uncle Sam force the abortion? You know, what if you want to have the baby? You're the property of Uncle Sam. No, you're not having that baby. Can they force the abortion?
I'm less clear. I don't think.
Mm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You know,
967-2789. They can force you to lose some weight. They'll cut your calories. They'll make you do more walking, more sit-ups, more hiking, more running. 844-967-2789. I did not have weight problems in the military. I was a skinny fella, skinny and buff. Eric from Lodi, you're next. Welcome to the party. What do you got for us?
Hi, Eric.
Hi. Hey, so Crute, you're not your own best advocate on this discussion. You keep talking about, I don't know, how it's the poor, how it's the uneducated, whatever, the criminals that are kind of being put into the military during Vietnam, but not the rich guys, not the privileged people.
College deferments, etc. Sure.
Sure, but you're also talking about how women, they have their autonomy, bodily autonomy, and everything like that, which is all great. I agree with that. But here's the thing: if it's okay for a woman to choose not to go to war or to have her baby, which keeps her out of war, why, to have her own bodily autonomy, why is it not right for somebody like Dom to say, hey, this is my body. I don't feel like getting it put in front of the cannons just because somebody says I need to go fight for somebody's oil wells.
Eric, maybe
You know
it's
what I'm saying? And
yeah, I do know, because maybe it's the selfish instinct in me, because when I was a 19, 20-year-old kid and I did join the military, it was purely out of financial need. I didn't have parents to lean on. I was a ward of the state of Wisconsin, and while I was not given the option, join the Army or go to jail, I knew there were actions I were taking that were putting me on a wrong path. Let's just say that. And that was before we became friends. But I would say that it's the kids like me that ended up serving this nation and going to Vietnam. And I did meet my DNA daddy once upon a time, a few years ago, met him on the radio, actually. He got compelled to go to Vietnam. He was a draftee who served in the theater, as did my uncle, his brother. And I would say, Dom, I didn't grow up hearing these war stories. I didn't grow up with some, romanticized image of war. That's not what I'm saying. But if people are compelled, it burns my ass to no end that there are people that think, well, but I'm better than that. That's for poor people. That's for other people. That's not for me. Because that's the way it has been, Eric, as you point out. But for those of us that always ends up being those people, and I was one of them, kind of for us, my ass. I'm just saying.
So you chose. But you were not compelled. Arguing. You were not compelled to join when you joined.
No, I was not.
Volunteered,
but
decided
there were financial
reasons,
circumstances and stuff that made me feel compelled to look at a military experience or something of that sort, because I couldn't afford the college on my own, man. Because nobody's bailing my ass out because I'm working full time and barely making the grade. It's hard. You can't work 40 hours a week, go to school full time, and figure it out. At least I couldn't. I'm not that cool. Hey, I'm working 3-4 nights a week partying. That's the real effort in the schedule making. They're turning our former once grade college into porn you.
I heard that the former chancellor, still a professor, his job on the line after his OnlyFans page. But UW La Crosse, since we were there, it's been porn you. I don't know what you're talking about. There's so much sex happening on that campus. I think you shouldn't really worry about it too much.
My son and his soon-to-be college roommate are heading up to Porn U tomorrow morning. They got to leave at like 5:30. They're getting registered for classes. I would tell them, take Professor Gal. He's the coolest. Folks, we're the Devil's Advocates. This debate can continue if you choose. 844-967-2789. Yes, I compelled my son to go to my alma mater. Because someone's got to pick up that half credit I'm missing.
I think I'm going crazy.
Madison's home for the John and Gordy Show.
Darcy Haber, I hear you have solar panels on your office building. Since when are real estate brokers so concerned about the environment?
Crute, you should know that at Solidarity Realty, we provide outstanding real estate service while adhering to our core progressive values. Environmental sustainability is a big part of that.
So you really walk your talk, huh?
Yeah, even walk to work.
Come on, always.
Well, sometimes I bike, and if I have an appointment across town, I use my solar panels to charge my plug-in.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, and they're honest. Check them out at solidarityrealty.com.
For the Love of Democracy Tour, sponsored by Chance Design Build, announces the greatest political party ever. Join the Devil's Advocates at the Barrymore Theater, Madison, Thursday, June 27th for a pre-presidential debate panel discussion featuring attorney Maggie Dawn and the Devil's Advocates at 7 p.m. Biden versus Trump, the most important presidential debate of your lifetime, to follow at 8 p.m. Admission is free. You're welcome, but bring cash for the bar and donations will be accepted at the door.
This is Chad Spade. Sometimes I'm overwhelmed by the hatred and misinformation that consumes our world, but I also know that we cannot build a house of justice and inclusion on a foundation of hatred and lies. We have to practice what we preach. At Chance Design Build, we confront injustice the same way we confront a poorly built home, with love, compassion, intelligence, and persistence. We engage our community the way we engage our clients, with honesty and humility and the dogged determination that we can do better. Chad Chance Design Build. Remodeling done well with love.
Do you like Delta 8? It'd be cooler if you did. We proudly announce the Devil's Advocates have partnered with Herbal Aspect to bring your newest Delta 8 favorites, Devil's Gummies, exclusively at herbalaspect.com. Legal for consumption by adults, they may be mailed directly to your home. Always use Devil Radio at checkout to let Herbal Aspect know where you heard them. Order today for delivery. Devil's Gummies and Devil Radio exclusive specials only from herbalaspect.com, code Devil Radio.
Grass-fed, locally raised, 100% organic. The Devil's Advocates.
And thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, our last segment of the day. If you got something to say, if you want to chime in, hit us up on the lines, talk or text right now, 844-967-2789.
Dom, I have been occasionally perusing the text line. Here's one. WMDX texter says, nobody should be forced to sign up for the draft. Well, that's not the way it works, but I'll keep reading. It's a lie that it's equal. Poor people are always the first to go. I agree with that. You can force me to die for my country, but I can't drink a beer. Well, that was a point Ron Johnson made once upon a time on our show, right?
But can't you drink? You can drink a beer in the Army if you're underage, is my understanding.
I always did. They had no qualms serving the boys in uniform, to my experience. I was 20 when I joined, 20. Not yet 21, because I was still not yet 21 when I came back from the Army and I had my little incident with the Coon Creek. A little bit more. This country doesn't give a crap about its people. Why should I die to support them and their big money donors? Philosophical. A few more here. I'm just getting in my own way. Llama from Madison says, if you want more kids to join the military, just tell them not to. I like the reverse psychology. Jill from Madison says, my perspective as a woman is that the Republican stance on women in the draft is patronizing, insulting, and unpatriotic. I agree that if there ever needs to be a draft, and I think, Jill, you speak well for me here as well. I agree that if there ever needs to be a draft, everyone should participate. You know, if we get to the point where there's a draft, this is World War III. But anyways, Dom will
but is it? I mean, we'd have to wait and see, and hopefully we never have to get to that point. But that may not be the case. Maybe it's just for some oil.
Dom, there are more than combat jobs in the military. You know, maybe looking sexy could be your role, just standing.
Well, and they talked about it in the article at the Hill. You know, the cyber jobs, intelligence jobs. Yeah, there's lots of things. The armed forces it covers all sorts of different careers, let's call it.
You'd make a fine bookkeeper in camouflage.
John
from Shorewood text in, draft would make these wealthy asshats look at the way a president or other elected officials would vote for an immoral war. Bone spurs would no longer be an acceptable deferral. What else we got here? What else? If you really believe that the draft is okay and you just have to do it, you are dumb AF. This country only believes in protecting its money. Why do the poor always have to suffer? Anyways, more chicanery.
Lots of class discussions, and I think that's appropriate because that seemingly is the case in much of the history of warfare in this country.
Someone said, Dom, don't make Crute hunt up dishonorable discharge papers for you. I don't know if you would. Yes, I'm sure you could get dispelled dishonorably in some short period of time.
But in the contractors, right? That's the other thing too. It's not just like the enlisted. It's also the budget and the contractors. You know, the formerly enlisted that are now, you know, they're getting paid. And if I recall, we had a couple of vets that did the walk across the country thing. We talked to them years ago, and one of the stories that stuck with me, and I think it was, you know, during second Iraq War, is that they, as combat vets, had to protect basically the supply lines of trucks going in and out of dangerous areas, leaving the fort, going across the wilderness, and getting to where they had to go. And that as such, they had a contract with the U.S. government. The Army had a contract with the supplier, and they had to run those trucks. And even if those trucks were empty, they still ran. And they had literally had these vets, these enlisted folks, protecting an empty semi-truck because they had to fulfill the obligation of their contract to go from A to B and back. I mean, that was an anecdotal story the guy told us on the radio. I was like, well, damn, that seems stupid and inefficient and dangerous, but the money flows. I mean, it's about the money, isn't it? Isn't it always?
Depends on if you believe Eisenhower or not, Dom. You're probably part of the military industrial complex.
Yeah.
Let's try to sneak one or two more in. Who's your Bob? Welcome. What do you got for us?
Hey, Bob.
Hey, boys. Just a couple points. One, Vietnam and the end of the draft. Walter Cronkite had a great deal to do with that when he started showing the actual number of body bags coming into the state. Instead of just showing one military cemetery, they started showing all of them. And that created the uproar.
Bob, appreciate your contribution. Catherine, you get the last word. About 30 seconds. What do you got for us?
Hi, Catherine.
Oh, hello. I just wanted to add to what the gentleman said before, and that's that so many people were returning and were against the war. They got drafted, didn't want to go, and you had the big protests, like in 1968 especially, where the front line of the protest marches would be the Vietnam vets against the war. They'd be in their wheelchairs and this and that. And the mood was turning against the war so strongly that the draft just wasn't working very well anymore. Now the way they draft is not by drafting, but by money. You're so poor, that's your only opportunity is to join the military.
Yeah, that's the way I felt. Catherine, really appreciate you listening. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Rich, for your hard work. Don't forget, we'll do it again on Friday. It's not a draft, but we are compelling you to listen each and every day.
Be here.
Just 3 hours.
Hey, it's not us. It's a commandment. What can we do?
Have a great evening.
All right, fellas, I'll see you on the radio tomorrow.